Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word, and we are live for testing day 5, the morning session, of course, and it is damp in Barcelona, so some interesting running so far this morning. An opportunity for teams to test those intermediates and those wet tyres. I hope you're all well, by the way, this morning. Miserable here in Lincoln, here in the UK, absolutely miserable. It doesn't look much better in Barcelona, so that's some kind of consolation, at least. I've got Chamber with me, Stuart, again this morning. And then we've got Jordan and Mike this afternoon. We'll do the usual disclaimers, then I'll go over the times from yesterday, and then we'll get on to today's action. So no track footage, of course, because copyright and all that. But we have got live timing from gptoday.net. Don't forget to drop a like on the stream if you enjoy what you're hearing later. Mostly waffle, but we'll try and keep you updated with anything that might be happening on track. Not really an awful lot in testing, of course. And don't forget to subscribe as well if you are new. You can also donate towards that total at the top of the screen. Thank you to everyone who's got me there so far. We were talking about mics last night on Discord, so we're thinking Shure SM7B for those that have donated in the Go XLR setup, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. All donations appreciated, but of course not mandatory, totally optional. Let's kick off then with yesterday's results. If you like, we call it results. Is it really a result? Not really, is it? But Robert Kubica topped day 4 of testing on the C5 compound, a 1:16.9. That's still quite a bit slower than Bottas's fastest, but still great for Kubica to top a day of testing. 53 laps. Max Verstappen on the C3 did a 17.3. 17.4 for Perez on the C3 as well. Racing Point, I know it's only testing, but they're looking maybe a little bit more competitive than I'm giving them credit for. Daniel Kvyat and Pierre Gasly were next up in the AlphaTauris, 1:17.4 and 1:17.5 respectively. C3 for Kvyat and C4 for Gasly. Some good laps as well, 61 for Danny and 25 for Pierre. Alexander Albon on the C2 did a 17.5, 29 laps. Lewis Hamilton C2, 1:17.5, 89 laps. Lance Stroll in the second Racing Point did 1:17.7 on the C3. Bottas on 1:18.1 on the C3. Only 10 off 100 as well, Valtteri, so a good afternoon for him. Sebastian Vettel on the C3, 1:18.1, 84 laps. Ricciardo on the C2, a 1:18.2. Carlos Sainz on the C3, a 1:18.2. 19 drivers yesterday, this might take a while. Charles Leclerc C3, a 1:18.2, 80 laps for him. Nicholas Latifi, 1:18.3 on the C4. Russell C3, 1:18.5. Grosjean, 107 laps and a 1:18.6 on the C3. C2 for Norris on a 1:18.8. Kimi Raikkonen, a 1:19.5 on the C3. And Esteban Ocon, a 1:21.5 on the C2. Notable things from yesterday. Definitely worth a mention. Kubica had a spin, but that obviously didn't affect him. Vettel had a spin as well, which brought out the red flags because of debris on the track, or gravel on the track, really. But he was okay. Ricciardo had his issues. Not Ricciardo at all, Ocon, sorry, had his issues, but eventually did get out, and Nicholas Latifi had problems as well yesterday with another power unit problem for Williams, so maybe some cooling issues at the back of the car there, speculating. Problems as well down at AlphaTauri for Gasly, who couldn't get out due to a, what did they call it? Not a serious, but a complicated issue, which is always good. And Alexander Albon had suspension issues as well. So far this morning, it's all times at this stage. Let's get rid of that slide there. There we go. So far, 13 drivers running today, which is cool because they all fit on there. But Valtteri Bottas out there, 1:31.2, 6 laps, obviously the intermediates. Sebastian Vettel, as Nicholas Latifi goes off track there. Sebastian Vettel, 1:35.8, 5 laps. And Esteban Ocon, 1:40.0, 8 laps. 6 laps, sorry. Then it's Giovinazzi on 3 laps, Latifi on 3 laps. And Magnussen on 1 lap. Like I say, it's damp enough for intermediates, which is certainly making this a little bit more interesting. So, opportunity to get some wet running done. Will Buxton was saying, I think it was Will Buxton or Alex Yates in the commentary box saying before I went live that, you know, teams can't moan about not having the opportunity to test these tyres when the track is wet. So it's good to see cars on track. We don't often when it rains in testing, do we? So a bit of a relief. But it's expected to dry up fairly quickly. It's overnight rain. As far as I know, there's not been any rain on track this morning, so we'll keep an eye on that. You never know. It might chuck it down very, very shortly. But let's say a very good evening. Bloody hell, that's gone quick. Good morning, Stuart. Positive start.
Oh, you're slowly starting to break now after 4 days. Good morning, Sean.
Yeah, we're getting there. A wet start to the day, so something different to talk about, really, which obviously a bit of wet testing, so the teams can't complain that they haven't had that this year, but it's not, if anybody's not seen the footage, and Stuart can back me up here, it's not like chucking it down, it's not hugely wet, it's that little, could you say that phase between slicks and inters that's really awkward for the teams to try and work out what tyre to be on, and they don't want to stick them on slicks and lose half a day for repairing a car.
Yeah, that's roughly where we are. I think they call it greasy because it rained
Yeah.
overnight, so it's just sort of sitting there, hasn't been cleared yet. But luckily we have seen some people actually going out there, not doing at all competitive laps. What we're in, the 31 is the highest, 40 is the lowest. Um, but I think they know they need to get out there to clear that water. It's February, so the sun is not going to do a brilliant job of drying that track out on its own.
I was wondering now, actually, because the safety car was out for quite a while before the session started, trying to clear some water, and I did think, we'll just let the sun do it, and then it just occurred to me, this isn't Barcelona in May, this is February, it's not going to go anywhere, is it, without some cars out there, but we'll keep an eye. We've had Latifi off track already,
Yeah.
but I think, who's not been out so far? I mean, quite a few, to be fair. Magnus has done a lap, but trying to work out who's in and who isn't this morning. Verstappen hasn't been out yet. Stroll hasn't been out yet, so quite a few actually looking at that haven't gone. So maybe, I mean, Red Bull have got a fence on their car there with aero rakes and whatnot, but is this morning one of those things where it is just going to have to be focused on aero and things like that, or can you do that in the rain as well as you can in the dry?
Well, I think maybe we talked. I think it was maybe yesterday we talked about this, that the mornings are kind of reserved for aero work anyway. And the teams may have to adjust their program slightly, but I think you can do some running, not necessarily at full speed, but yeah, stick some aero and flow vid stuff on the car, do some measured pace running while the track clears up, get some data back from that. Don't push the car. I mean, there's been a lot of runs where the teams haven't been pushing the car, even though they've been sort of within a few seconds of fast times. So I think there's still plenty to be done, but they need to work out what they're going to do. We're seeing a replay of Indianapolis, amazingly,
Yeah.
right now.
I think they were just talking about the market in the US and how important it is for Liberty Media, and maybe they're going through the this is possibly where it all went wrong for Formula One in America. I mean, I say possibly.
Didn't help, did it?
It clearly wasn't it? I mean, can you imagine paying all that money? I'm just thinking Silverstone, paying, I think me and my other half, it would cost us all in, food and things like that. You're looking at $1,000 with camping and tickets and all that. Imagine paying that for a weekend and then 6 cars line up on the grid on a Sunday. I think, the American fans there throwing bottles on track, we don't want to see that, but could you imagine that at Silverstone? It wouldn't be bottles, would it? It'd be a lot worse than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite restrained.
A lot of frustration on that day. Yeah, I think it absolutely didn't help. But I think if F1 thought it was making significant ground in the American market at that point, I think that might have been a bit optimistic. They've always been a hard nut to crack. And they do seem pretty happy with Kota at the moment.
It's a good track. It's a really, I mean, when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's just bits of other tracks that have been redesigned, and didn't think it would work. We tend to get pretty good racing there, and it's got good attendance. So maybe having a proper permanent home that is F1, well, not F1 specific anymore, but you know what I mean, that was built for F1 is maybe going to help grow that audience there. But it's an IndyCar, NASCAR country, isn't it? That's popular over there. So F1's kind of trying to break into that market, and we know how loyal F1 fans can be. So just imagine, IndyCar fans are going to be the same, aren't they? And maybe a little bit skeptical of something like this, but it's definitely growing. You can see that when they go to Austin, can't you? That they're selling out the circuit. So that's a great start.
Very positive, especially as it's a slightly strange place to have put an international track, but it seems to be working for them. I occasionally on Twitter make the point. I kind of make this. It's kind of a little wish I have. I think it would be quite a good thing for Formula One. Formula One doesn't have any of those flagship events like Indy has the Indy 500 and so on, and you have Le Mans 24 hours and your Daytonas and so on. And if you wanted to have like a special weekend where there were like extended rules and a little bit longer, and you could invite other clubs. Well, I don't know how it would work. Don't ask me about the logistics, but Kota is a nice big track in a big fat American market, and it'd be an ideal track to do something like that if you wanted to have a big flagship event where things were slightly different.
Yeah, people in chat saying we've got Monaco, Monza, and Spa, but we're not. Yeah, we know they're the jewels in the F1 crown, but what we mean is we haven't got like a big standalone. The only thing different about those is that Monaco has practice on a Thursday, whereas the Indy 500 is a big fuss, and this is why I've always said this. If F1 for whatever reason decided, you know what, the racing's not great around Monaco for a championship event, we're not going to go there, bring back the Monaco 100, make a massive fuss around it. Big event, 2 qualifying sessions, one on a Wednesday and one on a Saturday or whatever they do, and make it last 5 or 6 days, and it's all about prize money and new sponsors on the cars. Maybe you get special guest drivers in, and that sort of thing. They'll never get rid of Monaco, of course they won't.
No, yeah. The only reason I distance myself from using Monaco is because Monaco is so small.
Yeah, very true.
And it doesn't necessarily show off F1 at its best. Even if it does show it off as its most glamorous, you can't really construct a exciting race around Monaco. You kind of have to hope for the best. Whereas in the Indy 500, it's a nice big track. You could stick like double the cars on it, have a good time, run it for 3 hours, and have a great race.
So somewhere like Austin would work really, really well for that. Is kind of your point. I mean, Spa could as well.
I mean, there are lots of nice big tracks around the world. I just think if you want to do that and crack the American market, where they do enjoy their Super Bowl weekends, whichever sport you stick it in, it could be an idea. However they choose to do that.
I think Chris was saying something last Thursday afternoon I'm sure it was Chris, about maybe an all-star weekend or something as well to try and sort of break into the American market a bit more. But again, with a 22 race calendar, where do you fit it? Like you say, the logistics are not going to be easy, are they?
Yeah, no. But all you have to do is turn one of the existing races into a super race. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'll be back in a minute. I've just spilled tea all over my phone.
Okay.
From the teapot that I thought, this is a really clever idea. I'm going to make a pot of tea.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Carry on. I'm not going anywhere. I've got my tea towel with me. But if you hear me vibrating, it's because I'm rubbing my desk.
That's what he tells us.
12 minutes in.
We're off already. Yeah, so what have we got going on? Ted's down at Mercedes at the moment. I'm sure we're going to be talking about DAS and whatnot shortly, but yeah, Ted down at Mercedes with Rachel Brooks, not Natalie Pinkham, as I said yesterday. Got that one mixed up. There's not really a lot to talk about on track, to be honest. I was going to kick this stream off a bit more F1 track action related today, but it's wet, and we've had 3 times. 131.2 from Bottas, which is not going to be representative of anything ever. Sebastian Vettel a 135.8, and Esteban Ocon a 140.0. So 6 laps for Ocon, 5 for Vettel, 6 for Bottas, 3 for Gio, 3 for Latifi, and 1 for Kevin Magnussen.
This is, of course, the kind of weather you'd like to get for the Spanish Grand Prix weekend. That's the kind of thing that turns it from a predictable kind of processional race into something special. I guess you could say that about rain anywhere, but some of the most classic Spanish Grand Prix have been wet ones. I'm thinking particularly of Schumacher, who's
yes,
got some classics in the 90s. Where
96 was an epic drive.
Yeah.
In what was basically I'm sure it was Eddie Irvine. It referred to the 96 Ferrari as a bathtub.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? But that was a transformative year for Ferrari when Schumacher was inside that car for the first. That was his first year. 96 was his first year in that Ferrari. Many, many years ago.
Rourkefist just saying in chat that the engine cover is apparently off at Williams. They've not had a good old time with their Mercedes power unit. Merc don't tend to have too many problems with it, but Williams are on. I think they're on their 3rd Mercedes engine already, which is not a positive side. So, that can't be a Mercedes issue? Is it a cooling issue or something with the Williams? Maybe speculating, of course, but
yeah, I mean, as standard, customer teams tend to have slightly more problems with their engines, partly because the works team have their entire car in mind when they're making their engines. So packaging, connections, like fitting that engine nicely in with everything other part of your car should be a little bit more difficult for a customer team. And you got to hope that the stuff at Williams is slightly more procedural than it is catastrophic, because you'd hate to see them go through 3 engines in 3 races come the season start.
I mean, I'll always say this, and there'll be, obviously you're losing mileage and data if you're not getting out there and getting laps in, obviously. But it's better that it's happening now than happening in Australia. So, I mean, that's some consolation for Williams. And we have to remember they are head and shoulders clear of where they were a year ago. So it's been a much more positive test. But engine cover apparently off down at Williams. I'll keep an eye on Twitter, see if there's any updates on there. But not a great start. Latifi stopping yesterday. I think it was Latifi as well last week, wasn't it, that was in a bit of a mess.
And of course it broke down at the end of yesterday morning when we were watching it, that car. Of course, the engine cover off doesn't necessarily mean, bad news. It could just mean they want to fiddle with something. I find it fascinating. I know we've got a slight change in track conditions today, but anytime the car is in the garage, there are people fiddling with it all over the car when they've had all night and all morning before this session to get the car ready, and it doesn't matter. They're still fiddling with the car anytime they can get their hands on it. Even at Mercedes, they seem to be fiddling with the brakes at the moment. Perhaps prepping the car to do some long runs in these kind of cold, wet conditions.
Yeah, I was also saying it sometimes looks as though it's more than on a race weekend. I'm sure it isn't, but maybe we just get more focus on the garages to notice it more. But you're right, it's quite a lot of action around these cars when you think like you've had all evening to set them up. Why are we still messing about at 8:45? They're just interviewing Robert Kubica, 1:16.9 yesterday, topping the timesheets. I had a great comment, and I know that he's got a very dedicated and loyal fan base because like no other driver has. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, and all that. But it made me chuckle. And I'm not having a pop at that person, but they said, "Oh, this is what happens when his team doesn't sabotage him." It's like, first of all, Williams didn't sabotage him, and secondly, it's testing.
Yeah,
calm down. But I totally get that he's got such. I mean, there are corners of a lot of fan bases that are very toxic, but for the majority, they are, without trying to quote Matt Gallagher, they are just passionate. They're not necessarily fanboys and fangirls, are they? And I understand, Polish driver, only Polish driver in F1, and is he? Have we had one before? Is he the first ever?
No, he's the first pole.
So that's, you can understand that passion.
Yeah, I think he was first pole, and then set a lot of records for the next pole coming through.
I still don't buy into that conspiracy theory that Williams were jeopardising him, because what do they gain? They're last. They're 19th and 20th.
No.
They're not gaining anything by sabotaging Kubica. And he's too nice a guy.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have put him in the car.
Exactly.
They had options. They kicked someone out of the car who wasn't a bad driver to put him in.
Jonty on Twitter's excited for Drive to Survive. Random one there.
Is that today or tomorrow coming out?
Midnight. I should be checking to make sure they've used what I'm hoping they've used. Chris Medler, I can't stop reading this and I don't know why. It's probably not even interesting. Hang on. So Davina Mitchell, I am very proud that I was asked to create the official song of the Dutch Grand Prix. An official song for the Dutch Grand Prix. Beat Me is about how you can achieve the impossible with hard work and trial and error. The racing is used metaphorically, but the fact that we Dutch can organise such a large international event in our country in such a short time by putting our hearts into it reflects the message behind Beat Me. Discuss.
Oh, some things don't translate, do they?
No. Yeah.
Well, you heard them.
I mean, I'd maybe not have gone with that title. It's like, and the race over on Twitter do a fantastic job, and they've got some great coverage. But I'm still not convinced on the @WeAreTheRace Twitter handle. I think, let's move on quickly before we get into something. But very interesting. An official song. Do we have an official song for the British Grand Prix? I assume it was Three Lions the other year.
That's something that Formula One could do with. Stealing something from not necessarily an official song, but like stealing from football, the well-known chants and songs that you could sing in the stands together. I guess the problem is you don't all have a group of people supporting the same thing in one massive area often, unless you're a Max Verstappen Orange Army.
I'd say it could be quite cool, wouldn't it? If that Beat Me song ends up being like a proper, what do the kids say, banger or whatever. It'd be great to hear
Lit.
the Orange Army chanting that, wouldn't it, in the stands?
I mean, it would. I mean, it's hilarious, but I do always like seeing a crowd of people chanting the same thing as long as it's not like racist
Yeah, but
or or they're holding tiki torches as they march. But as long as it's positive, I do like to see it. Oh, that Alfa Romeo's out on track now
oh,
on
finally we got
Inters.
this Geo. Obviously, he's the only Alfa Romeo driver out this morning, or today. I think he's the only one out today. Actually, Geo. I don't think he's getting swapped out. There's not. Yesterday we had 19 drivers in total. Today 13. So
Oh, I'm going to bring the schedule up so I can keep looking at it. While we're waiting for, I guess, Gio to hopefully not bin it, I did notice today that Chase Carey is adamant the Vietnam Grand Prix is going to go ahead unless something horribly goes wrong. I guess we don't want to waste too much more talk on coronavirus talk, but they seem more worried about Bahrain than they do about Vietnam because Bahrain has banned traffic from Dubai, and that's where everybody stops on the way over. So I think
yeah,
people are going to have to change their logistics to go to Bahrain.
yeah. I was going to say Christian Horner was saying yesterday that it's not so much the virus in Bahrain for it is, but it's not. That's not what might stop them going. It's can you go to Vietnam from Bahrain? Can you go to the Netherlands from Vietnam? What countries are restricting travel from what countries? And that's what he's sort of saying is that it's not. It's maybe not that, oh, look, the Chinese Grand Prix had to be postponed because that is where the virus is at its worst. But it's not necessarily because people go, oh, well, there's only been 10 cases here and 5 cases there. That's not the issue. The issue is, can we leave that country to go to the next one? Because obviously Australia have got restrictions, for example. And I'm just reading something on Planet F1. They've put a little thing out that Australia's implemented an emergency plan. Bahrain have got travel restrictions and there's uncertainty about Vietnam. But Chase Carey's adamant. But yesterday I read a thing out in the afternoon that Vietnam have said the race is going ahead and they are planning for it to go ahead. So I think it is more about the travel and things. And
yeah, I mean, there's a heck of a lot of money tied up in Vietnam.
yeah,
So you'd think they would make sure it goes ahead unless something really, really disastrous happens. And I think it will. But, as Chase Carey said, the situation is very fluid. So you've got to keep your eye on like you say, not just what's happening in the country, but what are the logistics of getting around to that country and from that country.
If you're near a computer or a phone, which most people are these days, and you fancy having a look, head over to motorsport.com. They've got the first images of Zandvoort's completed banking. If GP today gets similar images and share them, I will put them in the stream. But that looks very indie. I quite like that. That's exciting.
What was the website? Zandvoort.com?
No, motorsport.com.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Luke Smith's done an article. I like Luke Smith.
I like Luke Smith.
Yeah, the banking is complete at Zandvoort. I think actually yesterday it was confirmed that Vietnam was finished. So Zandvoort doesn't look like it's too far behind, which is great news. I must admit, I'm quite looking forward. I know that people are very sceptical about the racing at Zandvoort and that it might not be, it's a narrow track. It's maybe not going to give us great racing, but I'm still quite looking forward to maybe being surprised. I do like a new track because even though it's been there a long time as Zandvoort, Formula One hasn't been there for a long time, so it's a bit of an unknown, or very much an unknown, and so is Vietnam, so I am very much looking forward to those this year, and I hope everything goes ahead. But that banking
banking is amazing. I'm just looking at it now. Good Lord. Yeah, I think we're going to end up with a little bit of a tight and twisty track, but watching those cars go through that banking, it might give them an opportunity to do something different as well. I think that's an exciting part of the track. And I will also say, if the first race at Zandvoort is a bit dull, that doesn't mean it's a dull Grand Prix by default.
Yep.
Look at Baku. We had a really kind of rubbish first race there, and then the next 2 races were pretty crazy. Same with Hanoi.
Thank you to Tristan over on Twitter. He's translated some Dutch stuff for me before. Says at F1 Word, always let me translate Dutch. Beat me is actually that hard work can achieve endless goals, and the Dutch, as little country, can achieve such events.
Do you want to tell him what beat me means in English?
What time? About 12 hours and 5 minutes I should be able to. I don't think the watershed actually is necessarily a thing for YouTube, but I don't like it. Although I did drop the F-bomb, didn't I, this time last week, so...
Whoops.
Got told off, but yeah.
It's your channel name. Sometimes you gotta... Oh, God. Yeah. Okay. So I think virus covered. It's still out there. We got 4 times on the leaderboard at the moment. As Bottas goes purple.
I'm just waiting and we're just waiting for Bottas sticking a 15 in the wet, and we all go, "Oh no," something like that. Yeah, we've covered that. We've talked about Indy from 2005. I still remember that race like it was yesterday. I don't know if that's because we often see images and stuff from it that I remember it so well, but I was sat because I'd moved into a flat that was owned by my uncle when I first moved out of home. Ended up back home, but we'll not get into why. And I remember being sat because my flatmate didn't like Formula One. Bloody weirdo. How can you not like Formula One? And I ended up sat in my bedroom watching it and just being like, still young, of course, youngish back in 2005, thinking, is that it? Is that F1 dead? Have they killed it with this? Because Bernie Ecclestone can't pull his head from up his backside, and neither could Max Mosley to try and fix a solution or find a solution. I totally get that it was never Bridgestone's fault. It was Michelin for taking the wrong tyres. But I mean, come on. I mean, what is Martin Brundle says? Surely we've got to take a sensible pill and go racing.
Yeah, yeah, and he was similar. So I was at uni then in an amazing uni house. We had a little garden, and it was the summer, of course. And the rest of my housemates were planning having a barbecue because it was sort of evening dinner time when Indy was on. So I got the TV and pulled it into the garden so we could all watch it, even though like I was the main F1 fan, someone else sort of liked F1, and we had to like sit and watch this ridiculous race when nothing happened because there were just 6 cars. It wasn't my best moment advertising the sport at all.
I could just like, you should all watch F1. It's amazing.
Yeah,
how many cars
while we eat
are
our
there?
burgers. No.
22 car grid. Where are they all? They're invisible. They've mastered cloaking.
I tell you what, the hour lead up to the race was pretty exciting. It was the most exciting part of the whole weekend.
It was the longest part of the weekend, I seem to remember feeling as well, because you're just waiting, are we going to go racing or not?
And that weird coordinated effort to like make it a surprise, where all the Michelin teams were like, don't tell anyone, but we're going to come straight into the pits.
Yeah, but we didn't get the team radio until the season review and that came out, because we didn't have team radio back then, did we, on the live broadcast? So that was all new. When the review came out, you're like, oh God, they were. David Coulthard was like, if it comes down to my decision, I want to race. And the team are going, nope. You think, well, if the driver wants to race, let him go. But at the same time, the teams are fully aware that at that point, adrenaline's pumping and the drivers maybe aren't thinking about safety at that point. So,
and let's not forget, if that hadn't happened, Schumacher would not have won a race that year.
Very true.
2005 was a weird dip for Ferrari where I
think that hadn't they left development too late into 2004 for the 2005 car, which given their dominance in 2004 is quite surprising. They could have stopped mid-season and focused fully on 2005 and still won both titles comfortably.
Yeah, it was very strange. 2005, of course, being that strange year where you weren't allowed to change tyres mid-race. You had to do, which led to some interesting things and some less interesting things. It was a weird year. It was fun because different things happened, but yeah. You reminded me, I was going to talk about this yesterday. I can't remember what spurred it on, but I forgot. Wasn't it a weird time in, I think, sort of the early 2000s when some teams, particularly people like Ferrari and people at the front, would run last year's car for the first few races, for the flyaway races, and then bring their new car in like Spain? I remember
you,
Ferrari would rock up like world champions, bring their old car, run it around for a few races, still win races with it, and then bring their updated car.
I think they did that in 2002, didn't they? Is the one that always sticks out to me is they bought the 2001 car for the first few races and still were pretty comfortable. Or it might have been the two, yeah, something around there. But
They definitely did it like 2 or 3 times, I think. Not necessarily in concurrent years, but they did do it. And McLaren did it by accident once when they couldn't actually get their new car to work. And it never appeared on track. Those were the days. We don't see that anymore.
yeah, I mean, like, well, these year's cars, a lot of them are sort of developments of last year's car, aren't they? But they're still technically new cars. And I don't. Would we see that? Could we ever see a situation like that? I mean, obviously we can't for 2021. If Williams turn up with their 2020 car for 21, they're breaking the rules. But yeah, I wonder if we'll ever see that again. Probably not. I mean, development's so important these days, isn't it? That yeah,
we did have strange. We also had that one year where the rules had come in changing. I think they're changing the V10s to V8s, but Toro Rosso were allowed to run a V10 engine that had been heavily restricted, which was a weird thing to happen. But Toro Rosso weren't exactly a threat back then.
I am involved in this conversation. I've just found an absolutely fantastic picture of Sebastian Vettel that has to go in the stream.
Shove it in there. While you're shoving that into OBS, I'll just mention I've been watching the segment times, or like the segment graphics on the F1 app. So as well as the 3 sectors around the track, 1, 2, and 3, there's each sector is divided to I think between 5 and 7 little segments that each have their own color code. And for a while, Bottas was doing purples in basically every segment. But now he's back to doing yellows, which means he's not beating his time. So I don't know if he leveled out. He's obviously coming back. He's back in. Oh no, he's coming back on track now. But yeah, he had stopped doing purples there, but only stopped at a 1:28.9, which is not a particularly fast lap.
It's quite a bit quicker than the others have gone this morning, though. So
Vettel doing personal bests at the moment.
I feel like this is going to be one of those really awkward mornings, and I know we waffle anyway. That's kind of the point of these streams, but I think we're going to have to find some good stuff to talk about. So get your questions ready, chat, and I will come to you. But this is going to be one of those. Yes, we are going to get cars on track, but what we're seeing is even less representative than what we see in testing anyway, and that means it's effectively irrelevant.
Track does look pretty dry. I mean, I can't feel it, but looking at it from the onboards, not only does it not look sort of shiny like it did, but there's less of a line between like the dry part and the wet part, which definitely was there about 20 minutes ago.
It's I mean, it's going to be cold for the drivers anyway, isn't it? Because slippery anyway because it's cold. So add the water there. It might take a little bit longer to. I don't know what's going on in that picture of Seb, but I had to put it in.
Perfect.
No idea. Obviously, shocked at the rain or something, maybe.
Maybe the photographer just screamed at him.
Seb!
I do the same thing to my cat when I want my cat to look up when I'm taking a photo of him. I just kind of make a really weird noise.
I think we said this last week. Seb's person, I just think he's hilarious, and I know that I'm a dad jokes kind of guy, but I just find Seb hilarious. That interview on Top Gear that he did all those years ago was brilliant, and he's got such a he loves British comedy, doesn't he? Old sitcoms, so that's where his personality and sense of humour comes from, which is probably why I like it, because I love the old sitcoms, even though. I do find myself cringing. I was watching Faulty Towers the other week. If anybody's seen it, you'll probably know the point I'm talking about with the Major, where I just go, "Ugh, you can't say that," but of course, then they could.
Yeah, there are definitely some parts of old sitcoms don't stand the test of time. Even things like Friends. There's, some things just are of their era, and you have to accept that. But yeah, Yeah, I like Seb too. I think he's very funny. And definitely in a more obvious way than Kimi Räikkönen is apparently very funny.
Kimi's just I want to say he's just dry, but he's not. He's drier than dry. With his sense of humor, isn't he? There's just he says almost to the point where you don't know if he's being intentionally funny. That's how dry he is.
I have that problem sometimes. I've had that problem a lot, and people just respond to me as if I was talking completely sincerely, and then I have to pretend I was being serious, and it's really awkward.
It's when you have to explain it as well, isn't it? I get it with my sarcasm, like, oh, I can't believe you actually think that. It's like, I don't. It was sarcastic. I'm sorry.
Awkward.
I always maintain that on Twitter when people say, oh, you should say when you're being sarcastic on Twitter. And I'm always like, well, actually, telling you I'm being sarcastic defeats the whole point of being sarcastic. I may as well just not say it, which people will be going, well, yeah, don't say it then, Sean.
I think that becomes a problem when you just have enough followers. So you got like a diverse team between people who are on your level, so sense of humor wise, and people who just don't get you at all. So you just get a load of comments that really frustrating. I love you all though.
Oh yes, we do. We love you all dearly. Well, all but like maybe like one or two. When it's just like, block. Thank you for the abuse. I'm only making you content for free. You don't have to watch it. I was actually in your comment section yesterday, Stuart, for some reason on the predictions thing. I read a couple of interesting ones, and I was like, I think you've replied to one saying we don't have to watch it. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sloth Wobs. I'm hoping that is actually a name and that I'm not imagining that word.
Incredible.
But it's great.
Love it.
Said, did you watch the IT Crowd? Yes, I do. Absolutely love the IT Crowd. Watched it the other week, actually. Sometimes sit down with tea. We've got a couple of birds, parakeets, and you can't watch anything because they're just so loud. So sometimes I just stick something on that I've seen a million times so that if I don't hear it, I know when it's funny. As stupid as it sounds. Andras, thank you very much for your donation, mate. Said, thoughts about the now complete F2 field? That's a good question. We kind of touched on it yesterday. I think actually they touched on it. We talked about quite a bit yesterday with Dan, but we can absolutely do that again. So I'm going to have to do a very quick Google on 2020 F2 field. But I think it's not a bad field, but a lot of rookies in there. So I'll run through them. And probably butcher some names along the way. So Dams have got Sean Galale and Dan Tickton. Virtuosi have gone with, I always say Zhu, but I think it's Joe. Callum Ilott. Go on, Cal. ART have got Marcus Armstrong and Christian Lundgaard. Sonoda and Deruvala are at Carlin. Aitken and Samaya are at Campos. Delatraz, love Louis Delatraz. And Pedro PK, another PK, at Charouz. We've got MP Motorsport have gone with Matsushita and Dragovic. Markolov and Alesi at HWA Race Lab. They've got a long name. BWT HWA Race Lab. Kramer have gone with the shootout for an Alpha C. I'm adamant that's what that is. Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman, I think the tastiest lineup on the grid. Roy Nissany and Sato, and then Mazepin and Giotto, Trident and High Tech. It's a good grid. And a lot of stories in there. You look at right to the top of that list, Dan Tickton. Is he going to redeem himself? Can he have a good season and get back on people's good side? Bless him. What can Callum Ilott do? Can Mick Schumacher deliver in his second full season? I'm very much looking forward to F2. And I think we've got some good names on there. And I'm going to be honest, and I don't want to, single out drivers and sound really harsh, but I'm very, very, very happy that Raghunathan has gone. That was just a joke, wasn't it, really?
And the thing I can't believe is they didn't close that weird loophole with the penalty points. In that he could have racked up, he racked up all the possible penalty points on his license in the feature race, but was still allowed to take part in the sprint race because of the weird way the rules work. I think probably just because the rules were just a carbon copy of the F1 rules, where we don't have a second race and they just talk about events. Very strange.
Yeah, that because he got that. Yeah,
but to use all your penalty points up twice in 1 year is a little bit of a red flag, isn't it?
I'd heard he wasn't good, And then I know we've kind of wandered off here onto poor Mahavir Raghunathan, but I remember watching him in Baku trying to do that 37-point turn, and they had they filmed him with his team boss or whatever, and they're stood there, and his boss just goes, no, you have to turn the wheel. And I thought, whoa, this guy should not be in a car if he has to be told that you need to turn the wheel to make the car turn. It's like, wow.
And this again, one of the good things that's come out of the revamped super license rules for F1, in that you don't get people coming in who are purely backed by money. You got to have quite a proven record behind you. It does perhaps exclude some people who were worthy of jumping up, but you do make sure you don't get a Raghunathan in a Formula One seat. Anyway, sorry, back to you. You were about to appraise the entire Formula 2 field.
I was. Probably not. But have you got the list up in front of you, Stuart?
Yeah, I've got the Wikipedia page up.
Same. I love it. What would I do without that?
Although I will caveat this with something I said in streams before, is that I'm not as familiar with junior Formula drivers as like you and John T and Dan are.
I know nothing compared to like Dan, for example. He's really good with it, but I have drivers I know and have been watching for a while. So, are there any names on there that really jump out for you? Because the lineup that always gets me excited when I look at this is that Prema one. You know, Schumacher and Schwartzman. I love Robert Schwartzman. I really do. I've been watching him for a while, and I really want to see him in F1 one day, and he really, really, really impressed me last year. But I also love Mick Schumacher because he's Michael Schumacher's son. And that's the wrong reason. I know I should like him for, his talent and that, but I was a Schumacher fanboy. So actually, in a way, I kind of hope while I've got the channel, he doesn't make it into F1, because I'm screwed then, aren't I, with my impartiality?
Yeah, but I think you've shown that you like certain drivers quite a lot and can still slam the hammer down on them when they deserve it.
Seb Vettel.
Despite there will always be people in the comments that think you're a fanboy of some people and a hater of other people. Lewis Hamilton being one of those ones that you could be both of simultaneously.
Oh yeah, I'd totally kind of a random tangent, but on my "Why is Lewis Hamilton so hated" video, it always makes me laugh when I go in. Of course, the abuse isn't nice, but I always makes me laugh when I've got like a comment going, "You're talking absolute rubbish, you idiots." That's a nice version. Lewis Hamilton isn't hated at all. No one hates him. This is just all pandering to the media and trying to push a narrative. And then underneath there's this big paragraph for someone who's explaining exactly why they hate Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I just sort of like, read the comments before you post one. I'm not making this up. I did say the other day, though, I admit now that was taken from pretty much a snapshot of Twitter rather than actually bothering to sit down and... It was before the channel really got going, so I didn't really get like live chat and things like that telling me how they really felt, and you know what I mean. So now I know that is a very small, the vocal minority. Yeah. But yes, I
think Mick Schumacher in general. Sorry,
no, you could go. You're all right.
I think Mick Schumacher in general is going to, because of the legacy attached to him, will also be one of those people. I think there'll be. It'll be from a spectrum of super fanboys to super haters, because he's just gonna, if he's successful, if he comes through to Formula One and he's successful and so on, and that has that kind of Max Verstappen-iness to him, he will always be a controversial figure, I think, in terms of fandom, no matter what he does. As I think Max Verstappen is. I think Max Verstappen wears that label a lot as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to overthink it. I need to not overthink it. I need to stop doing that. I was actually going to say I was going to ask for a pick in that field that you think might be a title contender, but I'm going to go to Dan Tickton. First of all, if you haven't seen his race helmet, wow, it's very nice for this year. I like it a lot. He shared it on Instagram yesterday. But what's your opinion on Dan Tickton? Because I'm so conflicted with him. I totally get and understand why he gets the stick he gets, and I'd like to think that as he's growing up, he would freely admit himself that he's been, let's be nice about it, a bit of a prat at times, as some of his comments have been absolutely, completely out of order. But he's so quick. He's such a quick lad, and he's got so much potential. And because he's got all this negative stuff around him and he's made some pretty hefty mistakes, let's put it that way. I can't really say deliberately driving is somebody's a mistake because you've deliberately done it, but it's how the press like to word it, so there we go. It feels like I kind of want him to redeem himself. Do you know what I mean? I want to see him bounce back and show people, look, I've been an idiot in the past, but look, I'm a good driver.
I kind of tend to agree. I think if you've got talent, obviously you've got talent. I'd love to see people showcase that talent at the highest level if they're able to do that. And I think, what should we call it? Potential character flaws, I think, are things that you can develop or, undevelop. You can fix, you can work on, you can become a more rounded person, as we have seen with many fast drivers in Formula One. I mean, Max Verstappen, I think, has become much less objectionable as a person. That's maybe a bit harsh, but he was definitely a very angry and kind of arrogant figure when he was in his first couple of years, in which rubbed people the wrong way. Alonso was a strong personality that rubbed people the wrong way when he started, as was maybe sometimes Hamilton and Schumacher and lots of people who have matured and developed as they've got older. Because let's not forget, these are young people. You get to know them as teenagers. They come into Formula One as young 20-year-olds who haven't gone through life the same way as a lot of people, and they're still developing as people, as I guess we all are. So yeah, I think you would like to see a reformed character before they come into Formula One, but I'm not worried that they can't be during their time in F1. So yeah, I hope he does well. I hope he doesn't make a prat of himself. And if he continues to be as fast as he is, it'd be nice to see him make the step up. And I think we sort of discussed yesterday. There's a lot of potentially vacant. There's potential openings in Formula One next year if you wanted to move people up.
He's got a foot in the door, hasn't he, at Williams now, after being dropped by Red Bull.
Yeah.
So if he can keep his nose clean, just behave himself. I really root for him to just stop being an idiot. But he's only 20 and he's got the speed. He just needs to. I'll say it again. Stop being a prat, basically. But for those asking in chat, what happened with first name, last name? Say Dan Tickton reminds me of Devon Butler. A little bit, yeah. But a few years back, he got involved in an incident, and then the red mist descended, and under a safety car, he chased down Ricky Collard and deliberately took him out under the safety car. Marshals on track at the corner where he took him out, and they had to run to sort of make sure they were safe, even though in the end the car didn't come to rest anywhere near them, but that's not the point, is it? They could have done. And he got a two-year ban, with the second year I think was suspended. Don't quote me on that. I'll just see if it's on this Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But I think it was a 2-year ban with the second year suspended.
So I'm going to, as someone with
Yes.
far less knowledge in this area, I'm going to ask you a question in which I've forgotten the person's name. So you're going to have to do some of the work here to piece this question together. How would you compare him to the driver that F3 or F2? But he definitely he got a race ban for bashing someone on the in lap. His and also for kind of a bit of racist abuse behind the scenes, and now I think he's in Indy. Yes. Yeah, Ferrucci. That's it. That's his name. If you're gonna put him on the scale, is Ferrucci somewhere on that scale? How does he compare?
Thank you for that.
That's all right.
I think the thing with Ferrucci was, I mean, he also used his phone whilst driving his car.
Oh yes.
I mean, that's illegal on the roads, let alone on a racetrack. I think both of them did was incredibly dangerous. If we talk about the on-track stuff, but I would argue that what Tickton did with Collard was far more dangerous than what Ferrucci did, because Ferrucci's on an in-lap and wasn't at any real speed. and there weren't marshals directly in the path of that car spinning off track. But the other stuff, if we're going to throw what happened behind the scenes, and I was telling a stream the other week, or a video the other week, that we were at Silverstone after all that had kicked off, and we didn't realise we were in the F2 paddock, and we were sort of filming Maney and whatnot and taking some pictures, and Ferrucci came past, and the tension out of absolutely nowhere between them was just, whoa, you could feel it. I was like, wow. And I didn't realise anything had gone on at that point. I thought, wow, those two don't like each other at all. And then obviously got home and found out what had gone on. So I prefer Tictum to Ferrucci. But out of those two incidents, I would say Tictum's was probably worse.
Okay.
In that he also got the 2-year ban, didn't he? So I mean, what did Ferrucci get for his misdemeanors? He got dropped by his team, didn't he?
He got dropped by his
race suspension.
It wasn't a lot. I think it was he became more of a pariah. I think that was more of his punishment until obviously he got picked up by IndyCar. But yeah.
So even the FIA probably saying that Tictum's was worse in that regard then, but I do prefer Tictum to Ferrucci. And that's not British bias. Yeah.
As a person, he yeah.
100%.
I think there's a lot more going on with Ferrucci.
Well, yeah.
Not worth discussing right now, but yeah, there's a lot more we could tear apart should we wish.
I do want to just say, get excited, chat. We were talking about this yesterday, okay? Pirelli, C2, C3, C4 for most in fact, all races so far they've announced the tyres for. But brace yourself for drama and excitement. The Dutch Grand Prix, they'll be taking the C1, the C2, and the C3. And for Canada, they're taking the C3, the C4, and the C5.
Oh, they're moving away from centre.
Was that exciting enough for tyres? So
they're going harder for the Dutch Grand Prix because I guess they not. Oh, I thought you said C1, C.
No. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Dutch Grand Prix harder, and so I got my numbers mixed up.
I guessing because it's got banking and they don't know what that's going to be like. I guess they're erring on the side of caution. We don't want an Indy 2005 situation.
And softer for Canada's not a surprise. They always take the softest, don't they, there? So
yeah.
I assume Monaco will be the same as Canada. It tends to be. But yeah, interesting that, yeah, like you said, maybe just erring on the side of caution for Zandvoort, because we don't know, do we? And they won't know until they get there. So we do, I always thought C2, C3, C4 was the cautious approach, but that's maybe overly cautious.
Oh, just briefly, I was watching Vettel having a little bit of a wiggle through the slow corners, so clearly it's not. He's on the dry tyres, he's on the mediums, but clearly not the. No, he's not. He's on some kind of hards. I'm still on the old colour scheme in my head. So yeah, not completely dry out there, obviously. Tyres wise, I'm interested to see if Pirelli do anything different for next year, because obviously they've got to change the entire construction of the cars with the bigger rims and the thinner and the smaller walls. But whether they'll stick with the 5-compound system or try and zhuzh it up again as they do every so often.
Sorry, I was just watching Seb there having a little moment.
It's twitchy, isn't he?
Yeah. Did you just ask me a question?
I did. Oh yeah, it is wet offline, isn't it? It is.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just watching Seb there and half listening. Apologies.
Okay. Well, let's. We could, if people aren't careful, have an accident at some point.
Yeah.
As Seb proved, I think maybe people will stick with the Inters for a little while. So, the question was, so right now Pirelli is sticking with the C1 to C5 tires, and actually they did want to upgrade. They did want to change the compounds for this year, but the teams vetoed them because they didn't like them. Next year, of course, completely different construction. I wonder if, well, they're going to have to go in a different direction with the compound because the way the tire behaves is completely different. So, I imagine we're going to get a lot of complaining from teams that want something from the tires that Pirelli won't give.
Yeah, I think my gut feeling is they'll go very conservative with everything next year with the tyres, because Pirelli is still going to be learning, the teams are still going to be learning, but I think we're going to get to a point, probably getting on. It tends to be around the British Grand Prix we get a lot of fuss around tyres, don't we? For one reason or another. And I can see there being, like you say, teams wanting more from Pirelli, and Pirelli having to dig their heels in and go, no, we need to take these to all the tracks. We need to make sure they've had a run at all the tracks for a week. Because it might be that they go really, really conservative for Australia, and then the following year go with the softest compounds because they were fine, if that makes sense. So they're going to be forever learning next year. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with them, but I also think there's going to be a stupid amount of tyre talk, as usual, next year. I don't think all these rule changes that have been brought in to make the on-track action interesting is going to take away from the fact that we're still going to be talking about tyres.
Well, this is the thing. We're getting completely new tyres that we have, the type of which we haven't had ever in this sport. And I've said it before, but these new tyres are going to require completely different suspension systems that could take more of the thumping that the tyres used to sort of absorb. And this is on top of this sort of brand new chassis that's being developed for the new regulations. So there's going to be a whole mix of things happening. And we're probably grateful that we aren't getting new engines at the same time, to be honest. Imagine trying to like turn up for first day of testing and try and like pick apart what's happening to different parts of your car when everything is new.
Think about the drivers, like they turn up for that day one in Barcelona next year, and the teams go, right, here's a brand new chassis with brand new aero, with a brand new feel to it. Oh, we're going to stick some brand new tyres. Oh, and by the way, you've got a new power unit and gearbox, and the driver just goes, nah.
Yeah.
I'll take the Astra out. I'm not I'm not doing that.
I think when I was speaking last week a little bit about this, I was like, oh, Pirelli traditionally do a tyre test of next year's tyres after Abu Dhabi. They do like a 3-day test while they're already there. And I was like, oh, are they going to be able to do that properly this year? Because you could stick the new tyres on these old cars, but the old cars aren't designed to use them at all. But maybe that'll end up being a good thing, because at least you've got a baseline. So you know how the tyres work on old suspension, and when you stick them on the new suspension, you've got at least something to compare it to.
Danny Indoor Man, good morning, mate. Good to see you again. Asking if anything interesting happened this morning. The short story is no. It's a damp track. We've had very little anything. But for what it's worth, because I didn't do it at 9 o'clock, Bottas currently fastest 28.9. That's how far we are away from these. His fastest is 15.7 from testing so far. That was on the intermediate, 16 laps. Sebastian Vettel's been out on the dries, 29.6, only 12 laps. Latifi 31.1, 10 laps on the intermediates. Giovinazzi a 32.0, 8 laps on the intermediates. Ocon a 140.0, 6 laps on the intermediates. Verstappen's been out on the dries, 2 laps for him, and then a lap for Magnussen, Stroll, Norris and Gasly. That is it. And also, to those just tuning in, those are your 13 drivers today. So let's have a look at this. So Ricciardo is in for Ocon this afternoon. Albon's in for Verstappen, and Hamilton will take over from Bottas. So nothing really going on out there. But it's just come to me, Stuart. Thank God we weren't doing these a couple of years ago when it was snowing.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, we would run out of things to say pretty quickly. I will say Gasly has just got out on a set of dries. Just done an in lap and a recce lap. So I think we're at that kind of period now where teams are going to just start to have a feel to see if they can start doing runs on the dry tyres. But based on the very tentative laps we've seen on dry so far, I think maybe not just yet. As we look at lots and lots of very patient fans leaning over the track to take pictures.
I mean, I'm not accusing Jonty of lying, but I didn't know this. Apparently, F2 are using the 18-inch tyres this year. Let me just reread that comment. The big testing for the 18-inch tyres comes from F2 this year. I'm sure they're actually using it for 2020.
I'll do a quick check of that.
Yeah, I'm not. I honestly don't know. I would never call Jonty a liar. The liar. No. But yeah, thank you, mate. We'll look into that. Stuart's on it. I've not seen anything on that. So unless he means just for testing.
Yes.
They are. There we go.
Yes, if you look at the Wikipedia page, the only technical change is they're switching to the 18-inch wheels to allow Pirelli to gather data on how they'd work. There you go. Well done, Jonty.
Oh, it's right in front of my face. Look, it's there.
Yeah. Reporter out there in the field.
Yeah, thank you to Jonty trackside. We'll get back to him later. He's down at turn 4. Oh, wouldn't that be brilliant? That was quite cool when I did the Formula E stream, and I actually got to go. We're now going to join Hazel. She is trackside. That was quite fun.
Incredible.
But yes, there you go. And indeed, Brandon says, Jonty speaks the truth. He does indeed. Thank you very much to, I'm going to call you Oz. I keep calling you Andre, but Oz is what your name is on here. So for your contribution this morning, I'm hoping this is going to reload on Streamlabs. It's come up on PayPal. Yes, it has. First hot take of the day. Should Sean would beat Stewart in a fist fight? Also, Sean will win the prediction contest for this year. Right, first of all, I can't say too much on predictions, but if you think I'm winning that, you're very bold. And secondly, a fist fight. I don't think I'd want to get in a fist fight with Stewart. I think we're both probably wimps in that regard. I'm not speaking for you, Stuart, but
We're not very aggressive people, are we?
I might throw a drink in your face after an argument or something. That's about as far as I go.
How dare you, sir?
I don't know why, but I like. Please don't take this the wrong way, but I can just imagine you coming up with a glove, slapping me in the face, and being like, "I challenge you to a duel." Like, oh God.
Yeah, God. I mean, I'm more interested in what it would take to get us to fight.
If you
I think if we got to the point where we end up winding each other up, we'd just like disappear to other rooms and never speak to each other again. Although, is it Jake Paul? He's making a hefty dollar from punching people on the internet, right? Am I right? I don't really know the wider YouTube scene, but he's a YouTuber that does boxing.
Is it Jake or Logan or?
It's one of them.
Barry,
Sean.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I do. This is my thing now, YouTube, but I don't watch an awful lot of YouTube. Do you watch much F1 related YouTube, Stuart? Apart from me, obviously, of course.
I do. I don't watch YouTube. It's like I don't watch much of the vlogger scene. I do watch some gaming YouTube. I watch some science YouTube. I watch some weird YouTube. But yeah, I don't really. Yeah, I said Jake Paul very tentatively because I knew of him, but I wasn't entirely sure.
It's a bit like PewDiePie. I know the name, never watched a video. Oh, that's me done, innit? That's it. Channel down. How dare you?
Not to be hipster. I feel like I did watch a couple of his videos like years ago, back when YouTube was a little smaller, and I think I watched him like playing Surgeon Simulator. But that could have been another guy with his accent. I'm not sure.
I was trying to think YouTubers I watch. Jack, Septiceye, because I'm mentally 12. Conflict Nerd, James Turner, Geekism, and then like tech reviews. That's about it. Of course, like when Stuart does a video, I watch it because I learn things, and I sometimes tune in some of Arrow's videos. But I've said this before countless times. By the time I've finished with F1 all day, the last thing I want to do is then go and watch somebody else talk about it.
Yeah, sometimes I feel bad because I don't listen to any F1 related podcasts, and I think, oh, maybe I should be in the scene. But yeah, you're right. Like you spend a lot of time doing it, and then just a little bit exhausted. I'm gonna admit something right here. I don't spend 24 hours a day in my F1 head. Sometimes I do other things.
I sleep.
Oh yeah, sleep.
Otherwise, people don't. My family don't believe me. This is it. This is all I do is F1. If I'm not recording something for the channel, I'm on social media. If I'm not social media, I'm sat on the sofa trying to watch or do something else whilst thinking about what I could be doing with the channel in that time. Not healthy. I know that. Possibly hence my breakdown midway through last season. But yeah.
Not helped by the French Grand Prix at all.
Oh God, no.
I'll tell you. Actually, we discussed this when we were recording the prediction stream, which comes up this weekend.
Cheeky plug.
Marble Olympics.
Yes, I have started watching that. The Marble Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
or Marbula One, they're called now, aren't they?
Yeah, Marbula One is the racing version of that. If people haven't given, I'm actually not sure how you pronounce his name, but I think it might be Hella. It's sort of spelled like it's jelly, but I think it's Hella. Hella's Marble Runs. Someone could correct me. Someone who's Dutch. Yeah, if you look at their channel, it's amazing. We tried to convince Dan of F1/E reviews to watch it, but he just seemed a little bit confused by the whole thing.
He thought we were making it up, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's like, how dare you, Dan? I'll take a couple because there's just nothing really. There's nobody on track. There's no time. I mean, like I say, 28.9 from Bottas is the fastest, and his fastest is a 15.7 so far in testing. So, yeah. Jack Webb, that was it. I think it was Jack Webb yesterday. Sorry, Jack. I saw this yesterday. I forgot to mention it. It said French Grand Prix was not as bad as you remembered. China was a lot worse. Personally, I would say France was worse than China, but China was also shocking. I don't get why people keep telling me that was a good race. Last
I don't
year,
remember
I thought it was
China.
awful.
What the hell happened to China? I'm just.
We had Mercedes, as was the case at the start of the season, disappearing with everything, and then you had Ferrari going, we need to swap our drivers around, and that's not worked, let's try and swap them back, and then they kept squabbling and costing each other time, and it just, nothing really happened. But China was shocking in my opinion, but I still think that France was worse. But I could be skewed on that because, as I said yesterday, I wasn't in a great place with other things as well. So everything was crap for me at that time of the year. Like, I'd make a nice meal. It's awful. I'd have a drink. It's crap. I just wasn't happy. You could have put Belgium 98 on and I'd have still thought it was dreadful.
I give up on this stupid sport. I'm going to golf.
Oh, God. Cricket. Anyway.
Yes.
I'm not a fan. I've not really followed cricket, but I should because my granddad used to play for Yorkshire.
Oh,
quite cool.
Well, that's a little claim to fame.
Yeah. Claim to fame. My nan was doing it before she passed away. She was doing her family tree, and we are distantly related to the Charltons, Sir Bobby and Sir Jack. So.
Wow, what a sports pedigree background your family has.
Yeah, football, cricket, and here I am covering F1. There you go.
I'm not related, but my mum once got a lift home from James Hunt.
Wow.
I was told nothing untoward happened. She just got a lift home. And all that she remembers is the leather seats of his car were brand new and they smelled terrible. There you go. A little inside gossip about James Hunt there. Didn't make it into the film.
I used to work in healthcare, and a lady we used to look after used to absolutely swear to me that she used to date Jim Clark.
Wow.
Whether that was true or not, I don't know, but I'm going to pretend it was. And we also used to. I also used to look after the. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm saying it. Here I go. Patient confidentiality. We also used to have the dad of the Status Quo drummer as well. We used to look after, which is quite cool. I like that,
Yeah.
There you go.
God, yeah, so much more glamorous than me. Although now chat is saying I might be James Hunt's son. So who knows?
Wow. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we should move on very quickly before we start getting onto paternity.
Although Brandon says I'm now everybody's dad. Now, I don't know what you've heard about my reputation.
Okay, Franz in chat says, just note that nothing is happening and there are still 1.2k people listening to you and Stuart. You crackers, a lot of you. But we love you. Yes, please do drop a like on the stream. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. I suspect there might be lots of new people watching, I don't know, but please do consider subscribing. But I think we've probably got a pretty steady audience looking at chat. A lot of people that have been here pretty much consistently with us since last Wednesday, which is quite cool because you get a good bit of banter going, don't you?
I'd love to know how and where they're listening or watching. I like to think some of them are sitting at their desks doing boring admin work and got one headphone or one earphone in an ear, just listening to us constantly every morning.
Well, I know Jonty's supposed to be at work, and he's been in chat more than I think we have. So, let us know where you're watching from or what you're up to. That might fill some time, and I might read a couple out unless something dramatic happens on track. We've got a Red Bull going out with a fence on them. So that's
excellent, good, because we haven't had cars on track for about 10 minutes.
They're now calling you Stuart Hunt. That is now your name. You're going to have to. I dare you at the end of your next video, when you put produced by, just put Stuart Hunt or presented by Stuart Hunt.
Well, you 1,200 people better watch my video so that this very niche in joke goes through.
It'd be worth it just for me. Let's read a couple of these out then while Max goes out. He's the only man out there at the moment. Read a couple out of what you're up to because we're interested now. Andy says 5 p.m. lazing around here. That sounds bloody wonderful, actually. Kieran, I'm in Wales in school. James is sitting at my desk, 2 headphones, doing boring admin work. Oh, boo. It's Thursday. If it's a Monday to Friday job, mate, it's Thursday. You're nearly at the weekend. Let's scroll down a little bit further. Alan's in Denmark on his couch. Sebastian, currently in electric uni. Oh, what can we teach him? Let's teach him something. 2 + 2 is 7. Yes. I mean, I love YouTube names. I really do. Floopy Noopers is in Denmark. That is now the name of my new channel. Angus dips in and out when he can, but I have uni too. Too much work time, but Stuart's right for me. Sat at my desk writing an essay. I'm listening while doing some programming homework from Rico. That's something I don't miss. I tell you what, I don't miss homework from school, but I must admit that I hated school, and now I look back and I've been, in the real world, bills and stuff like that, and I'd give anything to go back to school and live with my mum. It was so much easier. I'm at work, says F1 YMS. I'm at the circuit, said Mark Batterson. Give us a wave. No. That's pretty cool. A lot of people have gone to testing this year. I'm kind of a little bit jealous. I think we said that yesterday, didn't we, Stuart? We'd quite like to go down there at some point, and I can't imagine there's much to watch.
I don't know. Well,
is it more for the paddock?
We could bag a place in the media centre.
Yeah.
Sit out on the balcony,
drinking free coffee and
in 14 layers of thermals.
Yeah, in the rain. The keeper.
Oh my god,
of
it's snowing outside my window. There you go. Update from West London. It is snowing quite heavily.
Miserable up here in Lincolnshire, but the sun's just come out, so there you go. When it snows anywhere else, it's always sunny here. I don't know whether that's a weather thing, but I was just going to say the Keeper of Chaos is in America. It's 1 a.m. in America. Oh, that's some dedication there. Making my journey to uni more enjoyable, says Nicholas. Thank you very much, mate. A couple more very, very quickly. Apparently it's snowing in East Anglia. So there we go. Fran said, I've been at work for all your streams doing machine work and listening to you guys. Thank you very much. And one more. Scroll through super quickly. Oh, let's pick one randomly. I'm from Finland, playing GT Sport. I have a free week from school because I was there last week, and that's from Tommy. There you go. So there you go, Stuart. That answers your question, what lots of people are up to. Also, all over the world. I sometimes forget when I'm sat here with my British sense of humour and my common Lincolnshire accent, as somebody said the other day, that there are people listening everywhere, and it's not just my neighbours who I think get really mad at me when I'm streaming at 8:30 in the morning, because I think one of them works nights, but, whatever.
Yeah. You're not shouting.
Oh, I don't know. I've got my sound-cancelling headphones on, so I could be louder than I realise I am.
Yeah, that's very true.
But yeah, they're probably like, shut up! You could probably hear him on the stream. You gobshite.
Is that what that bagging is?
Spin. Max has had another spin. Is that 4 for him now in total this last 2 weeks? He had one yesterday. Well, that was, to be fair to him, that wasn't. No, he had another one yesterday as well. He had one that was a mechanical issue, one that was a proper spin. I'd like to say pushing the limits, but he didn't look like he was.
I haven't seen him spin yet. As you know, I'm always behind you on the stream by about 45 seconds, but I'm seeing you going into the last chicane, which seems prime for spinning. There he goes.
Just a damp, cold track, I think that is. That's not... Let's have a look. On board with him. I mean, yeah, that...
I think that... So that final chicane, as you come out of it, you do want to get on the power quite early. But it's such a fiddly chicane, and it's slightly downhill, and it's very tight. And you do need a lot of traction to, be able to floor it. And that's so easy just to overpower the back wheels and tootle around, which is what he did. Tootle around. Yeah.
Tootle. That is
Tootle.
You've got a pot of tea.
I have.
And you said tootle. Could you be any more British today?
Broadcasting around the world.
All these British stereotypes, they're shocking. What are you doing, Stuart? Well, I've just been watching some drivers tootling around while sipping from my pot of tea. Pot of tea, by the way, is that my other half is adamant that's old school and you shouldn't do it. But I think pots of tea are great if you can have more than one.
Yeah, I spent a lot of yesterday's morning stream thinking, I wish I had another cup of tea, but that would involve me having to get up and leave you. So I thought I'll just bring 3 cups worth of tea in a pot. And
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, Ryan Schultz says, "Are you eating crumpets too? Is that the next step?"
Without me noticing, Norris has got to the top of the tables. Did you mention that?
No, he's gone. He was going purple again. 24.9 on the, what tyre was that? Quickly before he gets in the pits. The C5. So that's the softest compound he's gone out on. And done a 24.9. So Kubica yesterday. I'll whack it up very quickly. Sorry, I can't be bothered to load it up anywhere else. 16.9 on the softest compound. So that's how far we are. We're still 8 seconds off the fastest time from yesterday. But yeah, what is that on the? You'll get the shot soon, Stuart. What's that on the Red Bull? The Cape.
I'll have a little look in a minute. While I'm waiting for those pictures. Norris, very specifically yesterday said they weren't planning on really using the C5 very much, but I guess with a colder track, it's a better tire for heating up and getting some interesting, getting some heat into those tires and getting them functioning properly. Are you looking at the under nose cape of the Red Bull?
Yeah, it's got like a little tooth on it almost.
Yeah, I saw this on the launch photos.
Oh wow!
No, I didn't see the tooth, but I did see the kind of the capey thing that sort of comes out of the nose.
Yeah,
Red Bull have been very good at sort of the way they sort of color parts of their car in terms of hiding them, because you could very easily not spot that cape under the car. Right, how do we describe this to people who are just listening? It's like it's at the end of the nose, there's a little collar, like a little shirt collar that then folds underneath like a full cape underneath the car. And then extends towards the floor, I think, to kind of drive some of the air under the car. And it has a little tooth pointing upwards, like a very mini barge board. Very mini, like a couple of inches high.
GP today usually pretty good at getting that kind of thing up. So as soon as that picture comes up, I'll pop it on stream, full screen, and we'll have a little look and whatnot. I couldn't tell you what that does. Adrian Newey will know.
Yeah.
He likes stuff like that.
I love how Sky are just doing a montage of all of Max's spins. You did say he span a lot.
It must be 4 or 5. It's 5, maybe even more. I mean, again, it's only testing, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. But same as Seb yesterday. Wasn't ideal because it brought out the red flag, but it didn't really matter. No damage done.
Yeah. And everybody back in again? Yeah, no cars on track anymore.
It's one of them mornings, I'm afraid. We've got 2 hours and 12 to go.
It's fine. We can handle that, I think. To be honest, I'm amazed they're not out there, even if they go on the intermediate tyres, because as we've said over and over again, they've lost a quarter of their testing time over last year. Only 6 days testing. I'm not part of the testing team and know all their programs and stuff, but you'd think just getting out there and putting some laps in, even if they're not sub 120, you'd be getting some data back.
Well, the lap count so far has been insane for testing. So I wonder how critical this is going to be for them. Obviously, any lap time lost is bad, but 673 laps so far for Mercedes. 584 for Red Bull, 528 for Alpha, 526 for McLaren, 518 for Ferrari, 507 for Renault, 498 for Racing Point, 470 for AlphaTauri, 431 for Williams, and only 423 for Haas. But I still think that Haas figure is skewed by the fact that Magnussen lost the whole afternoon because his car broke and he ended up in the wall, and Grosjean, did a row and damaged his car. So as he pops up on screen in a picture, look at that. Quite a lot of mileage, but like you say, lost 2 days, haven't they? So yeah.
I'm just. I was just trying to have a look at lap testing from 10 years ago, just to sort of have a bit of a comparison. There was a 3-day test. They had 3 days in Valencia and 4 days at Jerez in 2010, and the highest number of laps was the Ferrari, 802 over those 7 days.
Wow.
I'm looking at this on Race Fans. It's quite. It doesn't give you the team name; it gives you the model name of the car, and I'm trying to think which model is that. Like, I know the FW is the Williams. The VR? Oh, the VR is the Virgin Racing. Do you remember Virgin Racing?
Oh yes.
87 laps in 7 days.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably about as many as it did all season.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. A little bit of going back a decade and comparing.
Bottas on track. Everyone get excited. It looks like the graphics saying C2, but it looks like there's no brackets on them, so they'd be the C1. I'll wait for an off-board, but the on-board looks like there's no brackets there, so it might be the C1, not the C2.
I'm still amazed that it doesn't look like there's brackets at all, does there? I'm still amazed that on the app and on the website they don't tell you which compound they're on. It just tells you what color they're on. I think Bottas is on the experimental tire. On the app, it's got a question mark in it.
Yeah.
So I think he's on the mysterious Zandvoort tire.
He might. He's just gone fastest in the middle sector. He might, or not fastest. Sorry, beat his personal best, which shouldn't be too difficult. It's just gone with the black tire on the graphic now for GP today. So. What's he going to do as he comes through? I feel like I'm commentating qualifying. Over the line he goes. It is a 1:21.9, which puts him fastest. Ooh, the speed.
But I'm sure Pirelli are really happy with him running the tyre that's meant to be gathering data for the Dutch Grand Prix in the worst possible conditions.
We can't read anything into this at the best of times, but I don't think we're reading much into it now. Lando Norris 3 seconds slower on a compound that is literally the opposite end of the scale.
Yeah.
So, is he going to go quickest? No. It doesn't matter in these conditions, does it, who's doing, or in testing at all, who's doing what. But 19 laps for Bottas so far, 4 for Norris, 12 for Vettel, 10 for Latifi, 8 for Giovinazzi, 6 for Ocon, 4 for Verstappen, but no time, 2 for Gasly, no time, Magnussen and Stroll, both doing a lap, no time for them. There you go.
But the good thing is we've got 3 cars on track now, which is probably the most cars we've had on track at any one time so far this morning. It's about to hot up.
Norris has gone purple in the first sector. Let's try and really get excited now. Exactly. Brandon just saying it's a drying track. Times are rubbish to compare. That's exactly it. It's like Norris is going purple, but he probably will do because the track is getting drier. So is Bottas going quicker again? He is. We're down to 1:20.4.
But the good news is this information is telling us that the track's getting ready to be used properly again.
Yeah.
As the time's coming down, that's the information we're getting right now, and that's what
Just
the teams are looking at.
Everybody
Everybody's been out at some point, haven't they? No one's stuck in the garage yet. Everybody set a time. Even though Stroll and Magnussen have only been out for 1 lap, so that's an out and straight back in again.
And there's just the 3 driver trains changed this afternoon as well. So that's what they're down there for. So Hamilton in for Bottas, Albon in for Verstappen, and Ricciardo in for Ocon. Obviously, I'd said this yesterday. Ocon lost the first 2 hours of yesterday afternoon, but still went out and did 74 laps in 2 hours. I mean, I think that's a really good afternoon from Esteban. I
Yeah,
really do.
agreed.
Somebody asking what tyre is the black. We don't really know, do we? It's an experimental tyre. When I hover over it, it just says unmarked. So that is a Zandvoort test thing.
Yeah, you got to assume it's at the hard end, seeing as they're bringing the harder compounds there.
Bottas was doing purple and purple, but he's backed off now, and into the pits he comes. I think you're right, Stuart. I think we're getting back to that point now where the track might be ready to be used, but only 2 hours and 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, teams have got to do some hard and fast running if they're going to make the best of this session. And those three drivers, what is it? Bottas, Ocon, and Verstappen really would want to get some laps down this morning because they're out of the car at lunchtime.
I mean, I assume we don't know for sure yet because some teams don't let us know till the mornings. But I would assume that everybody's going to split their drivers tomorrow because it's the final day.
Yeah, I haven't seen the schedule yet.
I'm going back to what. Yeah, there you go. Renault, who don't. I was just gonna say Annette yesterday saying about how Renault just get frustrated so that she doesn't. They don't say anything to the fans. You don't get much info from Renault, but they're splitting it all 3 days. I know Red Bull are because they were worried that they were tiring out Verstappen.
Oh, poor Verstappen.
What are AlphaTauri doing? See, I think Red Bull are pretty good and so are AlphaTauri on all their social media stuff, so you get quite a bit of info from them. Tomorrow it's all day Fiat, so this is Gasly's last day in the car, apparently. Oh, Pierre
right.
gets a 3-day weekend. Good lad.
Yeah, 3 days in the simulator, probably.
And only Charles for Ferrari, apparently, as well. Of course, because, that makes sense, because Vettel's in all day today, isn't he? I know Haas are splitting tomorrow. So, yeah.
I'm trying to... need to kind of look this up. Has Vettel, after missing the first day for being sick, is able to do a full 50% of the testing? Have they rejiggled that to make sure he does?
You'd
assume, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I can't honestly say for sure. I can't remember what... They didn't really release much of their schedule. Because Charles did the first day all day, didn't he? And then
he did, yeah.
Seb and then Charles said he did a day and a half. Then Seb did the full the afternoon. Then they split them on the Friday. They split them yesterday as the red arrows fly overhead for some reason.
Yeah.
And then it was.
And then Vettel's doing a full day, so yeah, that adds up, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yep, Norris still out there. I think the times are going to start to come down again. And the track looks a lot better than it did. 4 cars out on track, including Verstappen, Giovinazzi, Latifi, and Norris. And I'm assuming Bottas will be back out pretty soon as well.
Yeah. Sorry, just a couple of asked about Fantasy League. I did one last year, and I never kept up to date with it. So I might make a fuss of it for a week, but I'll have forgotten completely about it by Bahrain. So, yeah.
We're not the best at predicting things, are we?
No, I don't know about you either. I'm also not the best at remembering to do things, which is a slight problem. Is it an age thing? Maybe getting old now.
Also, just end up being quite busy. I do my fantasy stuff over on Fantasy GP. I don't do the official one. I think just because I've enjoyed doing that particular one, and I've got a league over there that people seem to enjoy doing. So yeah, that's where I do mine. I do terribly. I'm definitely not the person to beat, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, of course. In chat there, Ferrari had issues with Seb on the Friday, didn't they, with the power unit? So he lost a lot of time on the Friday as well. He's done 270 laps in total, has Seb. So he's got some laps in, hasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah, how many laps Leclerc done?
I bet I can't find that, can I? Bet lights out. I haven't got the.
So I'll have a little. All right, while we're up here, Gio running quite slowly at the moment.
Seb's out there on the C something. He's out there on tyres. C3, yellow marked. Laps completed. Here we go. That was yesterday. Overall driver laps completed. That's what I'm after. Here we go. Charles Leclerc's on 261. So Seb's actually ahead of him at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Despite those issues. Fewest laps. 110 for Kevin Magnussen, but obviously had that crash, didn't he, as well? So Robert Kubica, who's only a reserve driver, has done 2 more laps than K-Mac, which is quite impressive.
It's funny, isn't it, that your assumptions don't necessarily line up with what the actual stats are. Because I could have sworn Leclerc would have done more laps.
I'm trying to think, has he had problems this week, Leclerc? Not had a crash or anything, has he? He's not broken down on track. That's been all Seb with his breaking down. But
No.
I'm just looking at some of the individual lap counts here. I mean, again, given that he lost so much time yesterday afternoon, I wouldn't have said that Esteban Ocon would have more than Daniel Ricciardo, but he has. He's done 264 versus Ricciardo's 243, which is quite impressive. But most laps, anybody in chat, you get one guess because it's quite obvious. I'll just say it. There's no point. Lewis Hamilton 362, Max Verstappen 338, Romain Grosjean 313 is third on that list.
I'm over at Race Fans at the moment. They've got some stats that they put up yesterday. Yesterday night, so it's after 4 days of testing. I'm interested that Williams' fastest lap time is not the slowest fastest lap time. Haas have that honour, if that makes sense. I think you can't read too much into fastest lap time versus what are their sort of average running speed. But when you think about last year, when Williams struggled to get to testing and then struggled to get within a second of anyone else, that's a big positive.
I still think laps is the real thing for testing that matters.
True.
But you can't help as an F1 fan but get drawn to the times, can you? As Giovinazzi's fastest on a 19.6. With less hair. Where's Gio's hair gone? I don't like it. The world is not right. He's had a haircut. I don't like it yet. But you do tend to still get drawn to the times, and that's why every now and again I'll go, it's only testing, so I have to remind myself it's only testing, not to get too excited by the fact we're as quick as last year's pole time in completely different conditions on completely different tyres.
Just trying to do a little bit of maths here. Hang on, bear with me a second. Mercedes are actually running on an average per day basis more laps than they were last year.
Oh wow!
But the numbers I've got are not in a handy format. But I've got Race Fans have the total mileage in 2019 testing versus mileage to date in 2020. So I kind of have to break it down a little bit. But yeah, they're doing about 780 miles a day, which I guess is enough for me to drive to North Scotland from London.
There you go. It looks like we're getting ready to see a Haas go out on track, but they've got no wheels on, so I don't know if that's their strategy for this year. If we don't have wheels on the cars, they can't fall off. Maybe that's what they've gone with for this season. It makes sense.
The ultimate protest against Pirelli.
Oh, poor Haas. I'm watching the Australian, obviously, for Formula One, but I'm going to be keeping an eye out and hoping that Haas can get through the Australian Grand Prix without a pit stop mistake. That is a big step up. Vettel goes fastest, 19.3, 2 tenths quicker, 3 tenths quicker than Gio on the C3, both on the C3. So there we go. Stroll third, 120.3. He's on A soft. He's on the C5.
Yeah.
So There we go.
This is good though, isn't it? This is we're now 120, 190. That's like we're back to normal running speed.
It could be quite a busy last 2 hours, like you say, for the likes of Verstappen, who needs to get some laps in, and Bottas and Ocon. So it could get quite tasty out there now, or as tasty as testing's ever going to get.
Well, they've got a lot of catch-up work to do. The first 2 hours have been a bit dead in the water, haven't they? Quite literally.
What about getting overtake here? Oh, all the drama, the excitement. We've got a pink W10 versus... Oh, no. Gio's backed off. Oh, come on, Gio.
Oh, just after he did all that work overtaking the Williams.
I know. Shocking.
Right, so here we go then. This is 4 cars on track, but I imagine we'll see more pretty soon.
Yes, got Vettel, Giovinazzi, Stroll, and Ocon out there. I think Latifi was out there, but he's pitted. Although he's gone for a practice start, so he's on his way out again now. Verstappen's on his way out. So Max Verstappen fans, be exciting. There's bots in chat. Yeah, there's not a lot I could do other than keep blocking. Mods are doing a good job at blocking them. But,
yeah, thanks mods.
Yeah. I just can't help that I title my stream so erotically.
No. I'm disappointed the bots can't spell the word amateur, to be honest.
Yeah. There we go.
Look at that Alpha Wing, the Alfa Romeo. Sorry, the not the other Alpha. It's just so tiny. The front wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always looks broken. Like there's a big bit missing from it.
It does. They were the first team to be spotted last year with that kind of what would you call it? Pinched design of the front wing. When they went out last year with their Valentine's testing livery for their shakedown, and yeah, like it seems more dramatic than ever this year.
Lance Stroll, world champion confirmed, goes fastest on a 19.2 on those C5s. So there you go. That he won't be there at the end of the session. That is going to, unless it rains, that is going to come down quite quickly.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that. We've got a question from Akan as well. Thank you very much for your contribution, mate. He said, will 2020 be the year of Seb Vettel or Seb Mental? I don't know, but I like that.
As if you can't have both.
Oh, Gio's in the wall. That'll be a red flag.
Oh, I'll have to
we'll come back to your question in a minute, mate.
Here's a red flag.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Stuart. Spoiler alert. Oh, no, he might get out.
Well, there's a red flag on the timing screen.
Oh. Has he pulled he's pulled Debris back on track. I'm
currently watching a Renault, but I will catch up with you soon.
He's hit the wall. He's damaged his rear wing. There's debris all over the track. So I think, again, the TV feed isn't showing a red flag, but I will trust you, Stuart. I just want to change my lights to red.
On the official F1 website, it says red flag, but someone might have jumped the gun.
No, it says so on GP Today. I'll go with them. But I just like changing my lights to red on the stream. It gets me very excited. So let's have a look. He's coming up to turn 4. And off he goes. Loses the back end and bang, straight into the wall. A lot of damage to the rear of that car.
Unfortunately, my Sky Go stream has gone to about 4 pixels wide. So I'm sort of seeing it in 8-bit.
That could be quite exciting. Get some 8-bit music in the background. It'd be perfect.
Blick, 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 blick. There we go. That's him into the wall. But yeah, just kissed it with his rear tyres.
Brandon says, we haven't even seen it yet. Sean, you're rushing. I'm not rushing. I've got a live feed in front of me, mate. If I could see in the future to tell you, I would. But it is a red flag, yes.
So it looks very much like in the braking zone, put his rear tyre on the white line at the edge of the track, which is probably still a little bit damp. And as you know, his rear wing is very broken and now in pieces across the track. The painted parts are parts you definitely want to avoid when it's wet. Oh my god, his rear wing is just disintegrating all over the track. That was dramatic. They're gonna have to bring out the leaf blower guy.
Yeah, Steve will be back. Steve and his blower.
I just want to see pictures of him futilely just pointing his leaf blower at a piece of rear wing.
Oh, Mark, what? Steve's turned up again. Oh, just give him the leaf blower.
Oh, wow. So he damaged the let's see, the left end plate when he hit the wall, and as he drove back to the pits, that shattered, and the left half of his wing is just like broken off, and is now hanging off from the middle as he gets pushed into the garage. Whoops.
Um. Well, after a morning of very little running because of rain, we've now got a red flag. I've used our filler. No. We'll go back to that question. Will 2020 be the year of Seb Vettel or Seb Mental? I mean, we obviously don't know. You know that, of course. But I'm hoping the year of Seb Vettel, not necessarily winning the title, but I'd like this to be the year that he bounces back and answers those critics and shows that he has still got it somewhere. And I for the 55th time in this 2 weeks of streaming, I still think he's got a lot to offer F1. The talk yesterday, all that excitement at the press conference, which was nothing in the end, it sounds like Ferrari want to keep him and he wants to stay, so he's probably going to stay for 2021. So, just relax and go racing, and hopefully, again, just have a clean season, find his speed again, not necessarily win the title, but challenge with those around him, and just don't spin. I mean, everyone's going to spin at some point, even if it's in practice, aren't they? But I'm more hopeful for Seb than I am. Maybe hope over expectation.
Yeah, he needs to do a little bit more meditation and yoga. Just get a clear head, and just keep it all together in the races.
He'll be all right.
I think the Seb Mental has kind of he sticks more in your mind, doesn't it, than the good races, the Seb Vettel races he has. Whereas actually, I think Seb Mental was, I can't believe I'm using this like it's a normal phrase, wasn't that frequent, but of course, you only need one incident to ruin your race. And they tended to appear on lap 1 and completely sent him to the back.
Shake of the head from Gio in his car. Yeah, he's just throwing debris all over the track. In some ways, it might have been better if he stopped, but I suppose he wants to get back and get that car fixed for the afternoon for any running. But Hugo says, I loved Seb's Germany race. And that's another, that just shows you that he's still got something to go from, I know chaos, but 20th to second.
True.
It was good stuff. And I mean, the crowd roaring. I don't think I've ever heard the crowd roar for Seb like that in Germany before. They were very much Schumacher. They would have for Schumacher, but it was, yeah. Where's Steve and his leaf blower? He better be one of these
He's got
trucks.
a long way to go because Gio distributed parts of his car across about a mile of track. Right, while it's red flag, I might take a quick break for a few minutes and then come back in a sec.
Yeah, no worries. I'll do
good luck commentating on the brooms.
I will.
See you in a sec.
See you shortly. It's just a Frederick Vasseur. But yeah, frustrating crash for Gio. It looks like he's just let his back end, or not let his back end go. His back end's got away from him. Possibly his left rear on the curb, which will have helped him in that spin. And then he's just gone backwards into the wall. A lot of damage. Rear wing is kind of, as Stuart said, disintegrated all over the track. So Steve's going to be out there with his leaf blower. If you weren't with us yesterday, by the way, Steve is what we've called the guy who was trying to clear gravel with his leaf blower. Just to clear that one up for you. Hey, clear that one up. But at the moment, Lance Stroll is the quickest 1:19.2, 7 laps on the board on the C5 tyre. His fastest lap, Seb Vettel, 19.3. He was on the C3, 18 laps. Antonio Giovinazzi, 1:19.6, 16 laps on the C3. 21 laps for Bottas on the experimental, weird, mystical tyre. 20.4, 20.6 for Ocon on the C3, I think that was. Norris a 1:21.3, 10 laps. Latifi 1:31.1 on 15 laps. Verstappen 5 laps, no time. Gasly 2 laps, no time. And Magnussen 1 lap, no time. But if you are just tuning in, it's been a bit of a quiet old morning. We had some rain overnight in Barcelona, which left the track wet, which means we didn't get an awful lot of running this morning, and now we've got a red flag because Gio felt like sticking it in the wall. But an hour and 45 minutes to go. Yes, the Zandvoort Spec tyre, whatever they're calling it, or why they obviously want data this weekend, so that's what they're going with. Other than that, it's been a really quiet morning. A lot of aero work seems to be going on at teams, and not any great laps, but the times are falling. Currently, Lance Stroll top in a session, so there you go. Gives you some idea. And fastest lap of testing so far was Bottas, which is a 1:15.7, I think. So we're quite a way off that one at the moment, definitely. But let's have a look at your comments and questions while we're under the red flag. We'll need to refresh the stream again because chat keeps disappearing. Don't know if it does it for anybody else, but every now and again the chat disappears for me. So we'll come and do some of your questions. I might look at some stats as well in a moment. Ultimate Stan, Sean, how do you feel about letting the teams run around some of the old layout for testing and the MotoGP corners in Barcelona? Yeah, why not? The problem is it wouldn't really yield much information for the teams because it all be new, but it would be cool for us to see a mix up. I kind of want that when I talk about going to Paul Ricard for testing. You know, if they're going to go there, let's have different layouts for each of the days or something. There's enough of them there. It'd be quite cool. So for us as fans, it'd be fun, but I don't think the teams would be up for that. The drivers might, just for something different, but the teams like Barcelona because it's very... Well, they know it, don't they? So they can really compare data across seasons. Be interesting, actually, for next season, thinking about it. Randomly there. We have a green flag now, which is good news. But I just think randomly, it'll be interesting to see how they can compare it next year, because obviously they're not going to have run the 2021 cars before. So, yeah. Might have a look at that later. That's Seb Vettel going around the outside of Nicholas Latifi. Oh, what a move. Made very easy. But we are green again with an hour and 44 to go. Fubar says, McLaren better than Racing Point? ? I was pondering this morning when I was in the shower. Too much information there, I know. But Racing Point, I've got a feeling Racing Point might arrive in Australia as the fourth fastest. But I think come the end of the season I think we talked about this yesterday, actually just thinking about it with Dan, come the end of the season with McLaren are going to develop their car more than Racing Point are and all of that. So I think Racing Point might be in Australia the fourth fastest team, but come Abu Dhabi, I think you'll be looking at McLaren and Renault probably ahead of them because they'll have developed their car more and that might be enough to take them over the line for fourth. But I've got a feeling Racing Point might surprise a few very early in the season.
I agree.
Hey, he's back. We're green.
Yeah, that didn't take long, did it?
Steve was on it. What can I say?
I'm very sad. My Sky Go just keeps dropping down to like low resolution. I don't know what's causing that. I'm not using any other exciting internet things.
Let me know, chat, if you're watching on F1 TV. Is it running okay? I know there's been issues since its launch, but I was wondering if it's running okay through testing. I've seen a few people on day one weren't overly impressed, but we can't get F1 TV ever here apart from the obvious the archive and stuff like that. So hopefully that changes for 2025. Fareed says no, not running okay. Oh, sorry. Is that doing a bit like Stewart's and dropping down in quality and things, or?
Yeah, I'm interested to see
Web OS. That means nothing to me.
Yeah. I can't. Obviously, like you just said, I can't watch F1 TV, but I get frustrated on behalf of other people who I watch with quite regular frequency at the beginning of a race as the stream drops.
Often the most exciting part of a race.
Yeah, and I don't know anybody who runs F1 TV. I don't know what happens behind the scenes, but people are paying a lot of money, and I do get very, very frustrated that they haven't managed to get a streaming service that works reliably.
It would be, I mean, Sky's more expensive, but it would be like Sky dropping out before a race and not coming back for 5 or 10 minutes, and you'd be like, "Well, I ain't paying for this." So yeah, I think if you're paying for for me, there were certain things that Liberty Media did at the start of their ownership of F1 that they rushed, and I think F1 TV was one of them. I think that would have been good too. I think it might even still be in beta, but it would have been cool to maybe just test it for a full season behind the scenes first, and then maybe get some people in mid-season or something. a select few hundred or thousand just to run it and see how it's going, and then launch it. Not just go, here you go, but if things go wrong, we'll sort them, because they're not sorting them.
Yeah, I agree. But this is what we are. Hopefully, year 3, everything will be working smoothly, and I'm sure everyone is super confident that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think? And I'm not talking a handful of years, but I'm talking at some point, maybe 10 years. Who knows? F1 will want to move to a majority streaming service model. It's a very hard question because you can't really predict what the future of television will look like then. But there are, streaming is only going to get bigger.
I think they're late to the party. I think we can all agree that. I don't ever expect to see it, for example, on YouTube for free.
Yeah.
As much as we would all love that. I honestly, skeptical head on today. I think they may have to, because if you are a BBC or a Channel 4 or an ITV, do you want to pay what will probably be at that point billions for an exclusive F1 contract when the audience has died in the UK massively?
Due to you having a massive contract with...
Yeah, because Sky took it and went exclusive. I mean, I have to say, nothing against Sky. Their coverage is very good. They put a lot of effort into their race weekends. It could be better. We could get more. But not everyone can afford Sky. It's a lot of money. And I don't, people say, oh, well, it's only £10 a month. It's like, yeah, but then you've got your basic package on top. So it's actually about £30 a month. It's not... £30 a month to some people, and I don't want to get into this too much, but £30 for some people isn't a lot. For others, it's a hell of a lot of money to lose at the end of a month on Sky. So F1 fans, especially younger F1 fans, haven't been able to watch anything other than highlights because they can't afford, or their parents can't afford, or won't pay for it because they're not fans. So they're watching things like Formula E because that is readily available and free. So the next generation, you're going to see the fan base is going to decline, because I keep saying this, people like us won't be here forever without being too depressing. No. But the fan base will decline. So it may be, I'm very long-winded answer here, but you know the point I'm making.
Yeah.
It's going to get to a point where they'll be like, ITV aren't going to say, yeah, we'll pay you $2 billion for a 5-year exclusive contract because 500,000 people might tune into a race. It's not going to happen. Magnussen's gone fastest, 19.1, 6 laps. Latifi second, 19.1, 20 laps.
Haas Renaissance. Yeah. I think you're bang on with a lot of that. And I know that was kind of a UK-centric answer, but, there's a similar things around the world.
Italy, I think,
where you have to be into part of a subscription package. So some people just, some people obviously get it on their free-to-air TV, but you can streamline the whole process if you do it through F1 TV, as long as you get it working.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend a massive amount of your wages or whatever you are. If you're a student or a kid or a low-income family, it's not a big deal necessarily to pick the streaming services you like. It will be interesting though.
If I said this at launch, if they can iron out the problems, and also if they can make it available on something other than basically desktop or mobile, there should be an Xbox app by now, so you can watch it on your big TV, or a Samsung app or something like that, so you can watch it on a proper TV. If they can sort all that sort of thing out, I would much rather give my monthly subscription money directly to F1 than to Sky. That's not me getting into a political thing with Sky. I only have Sky, genuinely, for Sky F1. We didn't have it. We used to watch on the BBC, and then they moved it, and I was like, well, I have to get Sky. I love F1 too much for this. I have to. So I got Sky, totally a choice, of course. But if F1 TV was available in the UK, I would have cancelled my Sky subscription, and I'd rather give that money directly to F1.
Yeah,
it's cheap
100%.
as well, I think.
That's some of the problem with things like Sky, and I can't speak of what different packages and systems are around the world, is that you can't just pay Sky to have F1. You could pay Now TV, but that's also pretty expensive if you're going to pay for a whole season of F1. I've not used Now TV, so I can't speak to how reliable that is. And I'd be interested to know, I know you've got like a whole spectrum of people in your audience in terms of ages, like how many people regularly watch live television on their television as opposed to streams and catch up and things like Netflix?
Let us know, chat. That's a good question, actually, because like on a personal thing, I was trying to explain to my dad the other week what Netflix was. Nah, he didn't. Oh well, is it? How does that work? Do I get this? Do I get that? And you're trying to explain what these streaming services are. Where my mum and dad are very much sit down, BBC One or whatever, sit and watch TV for the evening, and then off they go to bed. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
That was part of my generation because that would have been what I grew up with, and I still do watch live TV. So I don't watch a lot, but obviously you may have noticed from yesterday, I like my Doctor Who. I like watching Bake Off. I really like MasterChef USA. So much so now, random tangent, that I can't watch the UK one because I think it's rubbish in comparison, which is really weird. And I do, please don't judge me, I do watch EastEnders, but I wouldn't sit down now and I don't want to get into a license fee argument, but if I had to pay a voluntary subscription for things like that, I wouldn't. But if they're on TV, I'll watch them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Whereas on Netflix, I will sit and I will watch, Stranger Things, 13 Reasons Why, classic sitcoms, some great films on there. Santa Clarita Diet, which I'm still fuming has been cancelled because that was bloody brilliant. The stuff on Amazon Prime as well. I mean, I've got it all, and I still look at BritBox because they've got the classic Doctor Who's on there and thinking about that. So I grew up with a TV family, but as streaming services have come in, I've evolved. It's one of the few things I have evolved into. I've evolved with that, whereas I'd imagine that a lot of the younger audience would start off with streaming.
And I think that too. I think me, like you, we're sort of similar ages, but we grew up just not even having that many channels, relatively speaking, and you just sit down in the evening and say, oh, what's on? And just pick the best thing. Whereas now we can actually say, like, I want to watch this specific thing, which I know will be on Netflix or Amazon, or that I recorded. And apart from Formula One, I hardly ever watch live TV. Possibly things like Doctor Who, where I'll enjoy like reading what Twitter has to say as it goes along. But yeah, if I've evolved, I imagine people, younger than me, in teens and 20s and stuff, that's just how TV is now. You just watch things that are ready to stream.
Norris has gone
this is our long way of talking about watching F1.
Yeah, sorry, Stuart. I was just interrupting you there.
That's fine.
Lando's gone quickest on an 18.5. Times are improving, but I think as well. Like again, we'll wrap this bit up, I promise. But I just came to me then when you were talking. I think as well, life's so busy now, so you want to be able to watch something when you have the time to watch it. And there's not. There are a lot of people because there's still millions watching, in air quotes, normal TV. But there's a lot of people who just don't have the time to go, right, I'm going to, say Sean who sits down on Sunday and watch F1, but don't have the time to go, right, such and such is on, I'm going to sit down and watch it now, whereas they'd rather record it on their Sky Plus box or whatever, or watch it on Netflix. It's more convenient. So I think to answer that question, after 6 hours of discussing it, I think F1 will probably have to move that way because the audience they want to attract, which is the younger audience that Liberty Media keep talking about, are more into the streaming services than the normal TV. So hands may be forced. They're just too slow. F1 with things.
I'm very interested to see what happens in the UK when the Sky Sports deal runs out. I think 2024.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. I think it's 24. Because I know Liberty weren't that happy that they were roped into it, but we'll see how they feel. After being forced to spend 6 years with them and seeing actually whether they like it or whether they want to move to a different model.
I think if I were to make a prediction, first of all, the whole pay TV thing was Bernie's final middle finger to F1, or to Liberty rather. But I think, or whoever the new buyers were going to be at that time, but I think what I would probably guess is that, or predict, is that F1 still keep the rights, but not exclusive. So it'll be one of those, you can keep showing all races live, but we are also showing them on F1 TV in the UK. Give people options, which would be a good thing because that would drive competition. It might force the F1 the Sky F1 price down and things like that. So competition's a good thing, definitely.
Yeah. Can I ask you something very different that I've just seen in the
go on.
chat that I just double checked?
Just watching Bottas go
with a
purple
quick
at the minute,
Google.
so.
Lots of cars on track now. Oh no, wait, 3 cars on track now, but lots of cars setting laps. In the chat, hang on, I'm going to say their name. Joseph has said, but talks about I don't know if you've spoken about this on other streams. Marco said AlphaTauri is now the sister team to Red Bull, not the junior team, and I did just double check that, and yeah, he's made that clear, which is an interesting distinction to make. Do you think they'll start treating them differently? Do you think they'll stop using it as a junior driver test bed? Or is it all talk?
Very quickly, Bottas just gone quickest on an 18.5. But
nice.
There was something that I meant to discuss yesterday when you were on, and we'll bring it down. It is related to that. Don't worry, I'm not going to start talking about Bake Off or something. But I read something about how AlphaTauri are going to be moving to Red Bull's wind tunnel. And using that. Something to do with efficiency. I'm not tech-minded, you know that, but something to do with efficiency. I think theirs is something like 40 or 50%, and Red Bull's is 60% efficiency or something like that. So they're now going to be moving to the Red Bull wind tunnel for 2021. If you add that into Marco's comments, that to me, again, tinfoil hats on, absolutely reeks of this is how we're going to get around the budget cap. Because we're going to run 2 teams in the same wind tunnel, and we will claim that we're essentially the same team, so we can put our resources together.
Yeah.
But also staying quite sceptical. Also, maybe that comment from Marco is because they haven't got any junior drivers ready to put in that car, so they are going to have to be a sister team for a while, because it might be that we end up with Gasly and Kvyat there for quite a while. Or they might go find themselves, for argument's sake, a Hulkenberg, for example, another driver that isn't part of the Red Bull program, because I like Yuri Vips, but he's not ready yet. And there are other youngsters who have got a lot of potential, but they're not ready yet. So it could be a few years. Again, a bit like Liberty, their hand might be forced a little bit on that. But it is interesting wording, because you just assume junior team, sister team were fundamentally the same thing. But I do wonder, again, being quite conspiracy theorist about it, that maybe this is a way around the cost cap.
I mean, yeah, possibly. But, efficiencies are a good thing. And I'm wondering if it's something that allows AlphaTauri to have a little bit more ambition.
Maybe.
We've spoken before about how Toro Rosso were never aiming to be a championship winning team or to win races necessarily, or to to reach lofty heights. They were there to sort of sit in the midfield and do as best as they could there. But potentially AlphaTauri will be given more resources and be allowed to blossom more, especially if they like with Red Bull, AlphaTauri is its own brand. It's a fashion segment owned by Red Bull, and if they really want to push that, then they maybe don't want to be seen as sort of a lowly junior team.
Sucking the air through my teeth there was for Lance Stroll, who's just gone fastest on a 17.5, a second quicker than Bottas. I know the track's improving, but I still think that Racing Point is a bit of a dark horse for the start of the season.
Related, that Racing Point uses the Mercedes wind tunnel.
Yes.
They on a Friday evening, Mercedes hand over their wind tunnel to Racing Point, who get to use it all weekend.
Just on the Marco thing,
Maybe Mercedes left some blueprints in the wind tunnel just lying around. Who knows?
But we have to, or I have to remember sometimes that we've got a Mercedes in the wall, I think, or off track anyway. But I was going to say, we've got what Helmut Marko says.
Yes.
And the reality of situations do not always correlate. Let's put it that way. So, yeah.
Yes. He does his own PR in a very specific way sometimes.
Sorry, Stuart. Down at turn 5, he's just lost the back end. Car snapped away. He's corrected it, kept it out the wall, and just driven across the gravel. He's pulled some gravel back on track, so we might see a red, but I don't think so. There's not a huge amount there. Just a little twitch. Back end gets away, and off he goes. No major drama, but dirty tyres and a bit of gravel on track. So there we go.
Yeah, I'm just watching him come back on track now. in the quote live feed. That's a little bit behind. So that's him back in the pits, I'm sure. It's a weird place to go off.
You don't often see him down at turn 5. But yeah, there you go. Bottas off. We've had... I suppose the track will still be a bit green, won't it, as well? Trying to make excuses for people.
Yeah. Back end stepped out as he turned into the corner. I might have to double check that again, but it did look like he ran a little bit wide, and again, maybe he just touched the paint. Yeah, he did. So that could have destabilized the back end.
We got Stroll, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Pierre Gasly out on track at the moment. But yeah, Helmut Marko. If Christian Horner had come out and said it, I'd have probably taken it with a bit more seriousness. But Helmut is a bit of a helmet.
He certainly can be. He's definitely not my favorite person in the paddock, but that's mostly due to the way he sort of treats junior drivers.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm quite glad that we have a diversity among team bosses, and some are likable, some are not likable, some are weird.
He's a personality.
He is.
I think is a good way to put that. I'm doing my old I am here. Oh, we've got a Red Bull. That's Max beached in the gravel. That will be a red flag. It's all kicking off now in this last hour. I was going to put some pictures in, but I'll watch this now.
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah, red flag on the timing screens for me.
So I'll put that up. There you go. Hey, changed my lights to red. Very exciting. It is a red flag. Max in the gravel, turn 5 again.
While you're saying that, I'm still watching the replay of the Mercedes front jack braking as they try and lift it up.
We're sat here. Oh, you don't have to see that at turn 5. A minute later, Max is off at turn 5 and in the gravel.
A little bit greasy down there. Yeah, I'm watching it now. Absolutely beds himself in as he tries to get away.
So that is going to be 10 laps for Max today. I mean, they've got an hour and best part of an hour and a half, so they can get the car back to the pits, and provided there's no damage, he should be able to get out again. But let's have a look. Touch on the white line, little lock up on maybe a bit of water. Maybe not a lock up. It might have been spray that came off that right front. It might be similar to what happened to Bottas actually. Might have been exactly what happened to him. But have a look at the off board, and he's just gone for a spin, beached it in the gravel, and that's all she wrote, as Martin Brundle says.
Gravel trap doing the thing that a lot of fans want gravel traps to do, which is punish mistakes. But let's not get into a gravel trap argument again, because that's as old as time. I must say, during cars that do go off, they do seem to be getting them back to the garage before the end of the red flag session, before the end of the red flag period. So yeah, I think they'll do a check of the floor, slap some new tyres on, hopefully get him out quite quickly again.
Max having a look at the back of the car there, trying to dig it out maybe.
Yeah. Oh dear.
He's had a few moments as Max, hasn't he?
Yeah, this one will make the Max spinning montage that Sky have been putting together. I will say though, if you see it on board again of the Max spin, his right front tire looks absolutely knackered, like it's got like scars in it. And I don't think that's from locking up. I think that was there already. I have to double check that.
I was looking at Bottas's incident again. Does just touch that curb on the right as well, doesn't he? And maybe a bit of just a soggy curb, if you like, a little bit damp.
Yeah. So where are we? We've got 1 hour 20 minutes to go. The crane truck has just arrived to pick up that Red Bull. It'll probably take another 5 minutes at least to get started again. These teams are going to get a little bit antsy about getting some laps in.
I don't tend to add stuff like that, but I don't know if that's a conversation going on in the chat. That's why. But Sunshine says, "Why are you all only saying things about Vettel? Everyone makes mistakes. I mean, me and Stuart are talking about Verstappen's 300th spin of the week,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So no, we all drivers. I've always said this: if a driver deserves to be praised, I'll praise him. If they deserve to be criticised, I'll criticise them. I don't have a favourite or least favourite or anything like that. Because to be honest, I said this before, I can't be bothered, Stuart. I had years of being a Schumacher fanboy, and I just can't be bothered with that heartache and that stress. So it's just easier for me to stay neutral and enjoy just a race. I get that people think that having a favourite driver makes the racing more exciting for them, but for me personally, after years of being a Schumacher fan, it's less stress for me just to sit and watch the race and enjoy the racing.
I'm watching Max, like I think very deliberately brushing the gravel out from the floor of the car before he lets it get on the crane. He seems to be very meticulously fiddling with it. But yeah, you're right. And it's one thing, making mistakes in testing, might as well. Better than doing it in an active session. And it's tricky conditions out there. It's been wet all morning and there's still patches around that aren't completely dry. Really enjoying Max making sure his car is super neat and tidy. Do you remember the peak Schumacher Ferrari era when he was winning everything, but he would make mistakes in FP1, FP2?
Yeah.
That's where he'd find the limits of the track and often spin out, sometimes crash quite dramatically in free practice.
He had a big one in Australia. I can't remember what year it was.
I think it was 01, where he flipped over and over.
Yeah, big crash. But like you say, you didn't see a lot of that in the race. Of course, he did some daft stuff.
And those were eras, of course, where you had a massive supply of spare engines and a spare car, of course. So you could completely wreck everything and know you'll have something to drive the next session.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was watching a review of '97, but I always remember this anyway. Go back to Monaco in 1997, and 45 minutes before the start of the race, he jumped out of his dry setup car into the spare car that was set up for wet conditions, and you're like, that's how much money was wasted and thrown around in Formula One, that a driver would have two cars set up differently
for him.
For him, yeah, and then you'd have. And that original car that he's just got out of will probably on its third engine of the weekend already. It was a different time and all that, but you just can't comprehend that now, can you? Like what saying to John the other day, you'd have back in day, you'd have 3 or 4 engines a weekend. Now they've got to make 3 last a season, and the seasons are 6, 7, 8 races longer than they used to be.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. I when they got rid of the spare car, I did think I'd miss it. I think, what are you going to do? But we've got on with it.
Yeah,
I always felt bad for Barrichello actually, because that was back when he was Schumacher's teammate. It was at a time where Schumacher was being de facto number one meant something very different than it does now, which now it just means the team kind of favors you. The team will try and aim for you to be ahead on the track, and sometimes we'll swap the cars. But back in the Schumacher Ferrari era, it was like everything is centered around you. The spare car is set up for you. The whole operation is around you winning the championship and winning races.
yeah.
And that spare, I felt bad for Barrichello because he was one of the last drivers who was still doing right foot braking. So obviously he couldn't hop into the spare car as easily as Schumacher could, because the whole car would need to be set up differently. Okay, that car is finally being hoisted up onto the truck bed.
I love how slow they are in testing and stuff like this. While we're under red flag, I'll disappear for a minute, Stuart, and have a break if that's all right, and leave you with the wonderful folk in chat and all the sex bots.
Brilliant. Perfect. I'm going to talk about Max Verstappen's car's trip back to the pits.
There you go. I will be back shortly.
Okay. I'm kind of amazed watching this. There's a lot of Red Bull personnel who are now at turn 6 helping lift the car to the track bed. No idea where they came from or how they got there. But after Max crashed that car, he was very fastidiously brushing all the gravel out from all the floor and underparts. And now 4 or 5 of his teammates have turned up to make sure it gets on the truck bed safely and soundly. So clearly they are very, very precious about that car at Red Bull. And perhaps this is all being done in aid of making sure that that car is safe to come back on track as soon as possible, so they don't like knock it getting it onto the truck. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Say things Sean wouldn't otherwise let you say. Schumacher was overrated. No, he wasn't. He absolutely wasn't. He was infuriatingly good, but not overrated. I wish I could announce new streams while Sean was away. I have no idea what Sean's plan is. He keeps things very close to his chest. Brandon, my name is Stuart, not Steward. Although maybe I should be a steward, so I can be Stuart the steward. Why does Seb want to stay at Ferrari? I feel he'd work better at Renault, maybe McLaren, if he'd lose a driver, says Findlay. Well, Ferrari are faster, and Ferrari probably have more money to give him. I think if Seb wants a shot at the title, Ferrari's the best place for him to stay. Phase Gamer, why is it red? It's red because Max Verstappen binned it into the gravel and couldn't get out again. So we're now waiting for the truck to drive it back to the pits. And Ivkia says, do you think Williams will ever get back on top? Brandon, you are closer to my name. You're not quite there yet, but keep going. Do you think Williams will ever get back on top? It's a possibility. It's not going to be this year. But they are a very engineering focused team and they have the will and the way to become winners again. I'm not sure when we'll see it. And we're certainly in a very different era to when they were dominant in the sport, where having a significant amount of money goes a long way. And Williams, unfortunately, do not have that. Thank you, everyone, for misspelling my name. I appreciate it. Will Force India challenge the top three? No, because they left the sport in 2018. So I think it'd be a real surprise if they became the third best team. Formula One has blown me away before, but yeah, if a dead team rose again, like Palpatine in the latest Star Wars, that's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. I, for one, would be a little on the side of shocked.
Did I just come back to you being pedantic?
Well, look,
technically not.
It started me being pedantic because people were misspelling my name in the chat, and now everyone's refusing to spell my name correctly.
Oh, you're getting your revenge.
Yeah. Just reminding everyone, Force India are no longer in the.
No, they are the wonderfully named Racing Point.
For the last year running, I am watching the truck drive that race, driving that Red Bull back to the pits. It seems very unbalanced in the way that it's weighted. Like it looks like it's going to tip over backwards at any point.
But will it hit a bridge?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past question. It. I don't know if you spotted it, but just as you left, about 4 or 5 Red Bull personnel turned up to get that truck onto the flatbed. Like, they're being very, very fastidious about it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not ready to call them Aston Martin just yet, but I am very excited about that.
I do wonder, actually, I guess kind of random thought, if Aston Martin hadn't have had that exclusive deal with the exclusivity deal, I think they call it, with Red Bull to be title sponsor, I do wonder if Lawrence Stroll would have put an application into the FIA to change the team name for this year.
Oh,
I'd like to think so, because I know they'd need all the teams to unanimously agree, but I can't see many arguing against getting rid of that name. Doesn't make any difference to any other team, does it? But
I imagine Haas might kick up a fuss because they're already a bit annoyed about the prize money situation with Racing Point.
Oh, I forgot about all that. Yeah, that all very nearly ended up in court, didn't it? And with the Mazepins as well, I think, involved because they wanted to buy the team. That was a messy summer.
It really, really was. But I'm glad that we didn't lose a team over it, whatever happened there. I love that Sky are back to talking about the DAS system again.
Oh, a bit of DAS. Oh, actually, now you bring it up.
Yeah.
What do you reckon to? I know you've just been talking and covering me, but just very quick. I mean, what do you reckon to Ferrari's claims that they knew what DAS was, they were looking into it, but they don't think it's something they want to put on this car, and they might not put on this season? Or do you think that is just a typical school child response to? Well, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I did make fun of them on Twitter that it sounds like, Ferrari totally has a girlfriend and they go to another school kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's possible that they looked at it, and as when we've talked about that DAS before, I think we agree it's not worth loads of time, and it's not a game changer in terms of like moving you up and down the grid. So maybe Ferrari looked at the positives and the negatives of maybe like the changes they'd have to make fundamentally to the front end of the car, and thought, let's just stick with what we know rather than stick another unknown onto the car. It's possible. It's possible they also looked and saw that the 2021 rules didn't allow for it anyway. So what was the point of developing something that would only last for a single year? Possibly. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I know it's there's a lot of bravado speak among teams, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Ferrari had considered it and decided to spend their resources elsewhere. They are they have lost to Mercedes for the last few years, but they are a very resourced, very technically accomplished team, and it's not beyond the pale that they could have thought of it themselves.
Yeah, I did, because obviously Renault have said, I think we touched this last week, Renault have said that it would take ages to copy. Ferrari have said it will take half a season. So is it even worth, if it's only talking maybe a little bit of tyre wear, and maybe if you do get any track time, you're only talking a few thousandths, is it worth that to put the development into it for it to be banned 6 months later? I mean,
Probably
I don't,
not, considering how much development you need to put into next year anyway, with all the changing.
I mean, Ferrari maybe could, maybe Red Bull could, but I don't expect to see Racing Point, McLaren, Renault, the midfield teams go down that route, because there's just no point. But yeah, be interesting to see. Again, like I've said countless times now, this whole DAS thing is not going to be a title deciding feature. Again, that's a quote that's going to come back and bite me, isn't it? But yeah, it's just
Just to clarify from the chat, as far as my understanding goes, 2021 regulations were already worded in such a way that wouldn't allow for DAS to exist before Mercedes showed their hand. It wasn't a response to this system.
Yeah, that's how I understood it as well.
Yeah. Race should restart in 1 minute. Race the session should restart in 1 minute's time, according to the computer.
I've already sent it green.
Okay.
Why not? Otherwise, I'll forget.
Well, the red flag has actually disappeared from the live timing as well, so we're back.
224 laps for Lance Stroll in total over testing. 13 today. Fastest time at the moment, 17.5, but that should get pretty well beaten this afternoon. Although Q-Bits are topping yesterday, Lance Stroll today. That'll get people a bit excited, won't it? Definitely for the season.
I think Mercedes have made enough of a mark already. They don't need to be top of the timing sheets if they don't need to be.
I was going to say something, just completely disappeared from my head. Again, oh my god, this is definitely age.
Yeah.
I think it was a YouTube plug. Yeah, please do drop a like on the stream. I did check a minute ago, but I will go check now. How many?
And if you're not subscribed, subscribe.
Yes, please do. 1.4k watching, 243 likes. Please do drop a like. That'd be massively appreciated. And subscribe if you're new. And we've smashed through that original donation target. But if anybody would like to contribute towards the mic and setup upgrades, that'd be massively appreciated. Let's see if we get it to that 700 by the end of tomorrow. But again, no pressure. I'd never.
Set you up nicely for all the content you've got planned for the season ahead, which I know some of, but not all of.
Yes. So I messaged Jonty last night, and I might tell people tomorrow, but I did. I said to him, I was like, oh, I think there's going to be a backlash on some of the things I'm changing for this season. I'm a little bit nervous, and I shouldn't be because it's my channel, and I should be doing what I want to do, and most people understand that. But at the same time, you're like, ooh. Yeah, big changes, but more. I mean, you know, one of them. We were talking last night because we just can't get enough of talking to each other all morning. You see, 3 mornings of the week.
That's it. Yeah, we text each other morning and night.
I miss you.
Yeah. See you on the stream tomorrow. Night.
Where's the bingo?
A
joke. Don't you dare chat.
Right, 3 cars on track with Renault Renault out now. Yeah.
4 now. Oh, 5. I know you're a little bit behind, but yeah, there we go.
Yeah, session's back on.
Got Lance Stroll fastest. For anybody just tuning in, 1:17.5, 1:18.0 for Verstappen, 1:18.5 for Bottas. Not a huge number of laps for anybody. 13 for Stroll, 10 for Verstappen, 26 for Bottas, 22 for Norris at 1:18.5. Magnussen's only on 8 laps, 1:19.1. Latifi 1:19.1.25. Vettel 1:19.3.26. Giovinazzi 1:19.6.16. Ocon 1:19.9.18. And Gasly 1:22.7. 12 laps. We've had 2 red flags, one for Giovinazzi sticking it in the wall and keeping going and spreading debris everywhere, and one for Max Verstappen who beached it in the gravel at turn 5. Who else has been off? Max Verstappen has spun before that, hadn't he? And then we had Bottas off at turn 5. I think that's everything.
Gio, that's the 3 of them, wasn't it?
So there we go.
It just like I mean, shit, Latifi has done as many laps as anyone basically. In the mid-20s, he's but I haven't seen that much of him. He's on screen now, but you know, Williams quietly getting on with it.
Let's see what he did. He's personal best in the middle sector at the moment, so they've sort of gone out and gone on with the pace. He's on the C4s, apparently. So yeah, he's gone straight on that chicane, or just before the chicane again. I need a track map. Hang on. I keep doing this. It's only day 5, and I've finally got round to it. So the chicane is 14 and 15. So that corner that they keep going straight on at is turn 13. Unlucky for some. There we go.
It's a stupid chicane anyway.
Oh, I hate it. Go back to what we had before. Here he goes again. Here goes Grandad. But it was so much better, that final sector.
I know what they were trying to do, because the last 2 in the old layout, the last 2 corners were just 2 fast right-handers, and it was tricky to get cars behind each other for the main straight. But that chicane is awful. It's so tight and fiddly and awkward and absolutely nothing like any of the rest of the track.
And despite its purpose, it doesn't serve its purpose because you still can't overtake.
Yeah. Very strange.
Lancey boy is on it. Purple and purple in a pink car. Ocon goes third at 1:18.3. What if Lance Stroll has a good season? I hope he does. Over the line he goes. He's quickest. A couple of tenths shaved off that. At 1:17.2.
You know, if Lance Stroll gets his Saturdays together, and we know he struggles in qualifying, his Sundays are pretty good. If he can just get himself a bit further up the grid, you know, he can challenge Perez for the points.
I don't know what his problem is with Saturdays, because it was. I remember when he signed for Racing Point. Mark Safnauer, that's the team boss, isn't it? Yeah. Said that they just need to. They're quite happy with what he was doing from what they've seen on a Sunday, but they needed him to improve his Saturdays, and that was what they were going to work with him on all winter. And then last year he was still terrible, so whatever work they did in the winter was not good enough. But he needs to. The gap to Perez last year was pretty big for teammates.
Yeah.
But I can't work out how much of that was because of qualifying, and how much is just because Perez is that much better than him. But it's one of those battles where I'd like, if he can get his Saturdays together, I'd quite like to see him go toe-to-toe properly with Checo over the course of the season, because I think we get a good read then of where Stroll is, because I think it's slightly skewed against him because of his Saturdays, but also the pay driver thing. People are never going to give him credit for things.
Yeah, this is why I kind of do want him to do well.
Yeah.
Because then you can just get rid of all that chat about him being in his father's team and not deserving of his seat. Because I do think he's a fast driver, but I do think his current position distracts from that and means he has to work doubly hard to prove himself.
Because he tops the stats yearly for most places gained on the first laps. And Jonty's got a theory, and I kind of back him up on this, that Lance Stroll is very good on cold tyres or cooler tyres. We see him in the wet, he's very good. But
Well, it's a cold day today.
yeah, and he's top. There you go, top of the timesheets. There we go. But also, he tops those tables because he's starting out a position in a quicker car.
Yes. Yeah, that is also true.
It'd be like getting excited because Hamilton tops that because he starts 20th every race in a Mercedes and finishes second. You know, it's yeah.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, an out of position car in qualifying is obviously going to gain more than a Perez who's, back end of Q3. But yeah, I mean, in theory, there's plenty of time to work out sort of outright one lap pace in things like the simulator and things like that. But the fact you can't really necessarily prepare yourself for is the pressure of delivering that solid qualifying lap. And I don't know if that's a factor in Stroll, if knowing that every corner has to count is a psychological niggle in his mind. I don't know. But whatever it is, he needs to get on top of it.
Mark in chat says, do you think sometimes he looks like he's been forced into it by his dad and doesn't really want to be there? I don't know about that, but it does sometimes feel like Lawrence Stroll is living his ambition through his son. A little bit. But yeah, no, I don't think that's the case. I think Lance is a racer. As Jonty's saying there, he won F3 in dominant fashion, which he did. I know there are stories and theories from people at the time who say that there was things were a lot of money was exchanged hands and his dad helped him out with that as well, and that George Russell was put in a compromised position and all that. But yeah, whatever. He still did it in dominant fashion. It's like Esteban Ocon. He beat Verstappen in F3. Yeah, Verstappen had reliability problems and other issues, but Ocon still beat him. The stats still say he did it, so I'm not saying there weren't reasons behind it, but and the whole paid drivers thing as well. I know I did a rant. Sean, you did a rant on this, you hypocrite. But that's when I didn't think before I spoke, which I'm so pleased has changed. But the whole paid drivers thing, when you actually sit down and look at it, there aren't many that aren't in some form.
Yeah, I mean,
not in the same way, of course.
It comes with you as you go through your sort of driver career anyway. And you absolutely need to have money attached to you to even make it within shot of F1. You need to pay for your way through F3, F2, Super Formula, whatever your route up to F1 is. You need to make friends with big sponsors. That's just, or have a dad that's a billionaire. You just that's just the way the game works, and you kind of wish it didn't, and it was just pure talent. But unfortunately, this is a very, very expensive type of sport. I am on the sort of note, like you named a few people who are showed themselves well in F2 and F3 and junior formula and stuff like that. It is interesting to see how that relationship changes when you get to F1. Like you talk about Ocon versus Verstappen, and I think we'll see a little more of Ocon's talent this year, but you often get these big rivalries in lower formula that never show themselves again when you get to F1. The famous one I think that comes to mind is the Brundle versus Senna, which was a titanic battle back in whatever it was back at the time, F3 or F2 or F3000 or whatever. I can't remember what it was. There is a documentary. And Senna went one way and Brundle went another way in their Formula career.
17.6 for Seb, goes up to second place. Seb Vettel, Bottas out there not doing much, but I think, I was surprised when I went through and did the Verstappen's Road to F1 video. I was quite surprised by how many of the current grid he came across, despite the fact that there's similar ages in there. Him and Alex Albon raced against each other. Him and Leclerc, Ocon, they all raced against each other. But the biggest surprise for me, and this is a little bit random because it's just come to me, but he actually raced Jaime Alguersuari in a junior series that was pre, the Wikipedia page stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was pre that. He raced Alguersuari despite the fact Alguersuari had been in F1.
Yeah.
Which I found quite weird. So Alguersuari really did, when he left F1, did plummet quite far down the order. So, yeah, there's some really good rivalries out there that you kind of hear about when they get to F1. But the Brundle-Senna one, I mean, Brundle never shuts up about it, does he? But
well, you wouldn't, would you?
No, exactly. I was going to say that is pretty mega. I think actually, randomly, I'll check it. I think his picture on Twitter is still him and Senna, and probably always will be. Yeah,
Brundle was teammates against some greats as well in F1. I think he was both Schumacher and Häkkinen were his teammate at some point or another.
I think Brundle was a bit underrated, and because he had such incredible teammates, he maybe looked a little bit worse than he actually was. Because Murray Walker always seemed to rate him quite highly.
Yeah, I think he's known for being talented, and he clearly has the. I know people are a little bit tired of Brundle these days, and I sometimes can feel the same because, he's more removed from his F1 career as each year goes on. Clearly a very intelligent driver, and when he stepped up into the commentary booth from driving, it added a lot to the quality of commentary we were getting. But yeah, I know, and I know he was plagued by injury and stuff during his career in the same way Johnny Herbert was, who hasn't added much to the quality of commentary on the flip side. Yeah, I don't know if we underrated or not. I feel like Brundle is rated and maybe didn't have as many opportunities as other people, but yeah, definitely could have won a race or two.
Let's have a look at him through his junior career prior to F1. Nothing massively notable. By the way, if the F1 word was around in the 1980s, this is what it would sound like. Looking back at Martin Brundle's career. His junior career. 91, Brabham, then it was Formula One. So he did well on podiums. First, his season with Benetton in 92, 4 podiums, which isn't bad. But like you say, he was up against some proper good... I mean, proper good is an understatement, Häkkinen, Schumacher and people like that. But it's like Barrichello. Barrichello was a better driver than people remember. A lot of people remember him as Schumacher's number 2, but he was better than that.
Yeah, he was. But he was never, despite being in the best team, he was never going to get the opportunity to capitalise on it. Unless you had your Eddie Irvine moment and Schumacher had broke his leg and disappeared for half a season.
I was thinking about Barrichello. I was just going to say, on your point there, but when he got his opportunities, Rubens, he delivered. So, Germany 2000, Schumacher crashed out in turn 1. I think Barrichello was down in 18th, and he won it.
That was amazing.
A fantastic drive, and that those kind of things kind of happened when he had the opportunity. He delivered, but equally, he was also asked to essentially stop on the line and let his teammate through. So he was never going to be world champion at Ferrari, was he? But his season at Stewart in 99
you just reminded me, Germany 2000, that excellent, such a great race.
Yeah. If
you've got F1 TV, and I don't know if it's one of the available full races, but absolutely watch that race. It has a little bit of everything, and you get to watch the old style high speed Hockenheim, which was so big that at one point during that race, it was raining in one half and dry in the other half, and drivers were going in completely different directions over whether they chose dry tires or wet tires. It was fascinating.
Yeah, I think, spoiler alert if you've not seen it, so I'll give you a chance just to mute things for a second. I mean, it was a long time ago, so I feel spoiler alert is a bit ridiculous, but yeah, people might not have seen it. But you'd have Frenzen, for example, would be on the dry part of the track on dry tyres, obviously, and would be absolutely running away with it. And then you get onto the wet track, and then the driver behind would be catching him really, really quickly. And then you get back to the dry bit, and they disappear again. And it was, really weird race. That was one I had to record and watch when I got home because I was at Party on the Pier in Cleethorpes.
Well, aren't you? There we go. Yeah.
Went C5.
you're a very cool guy.
I was so cool.
That's what they all said about you. Um, I d- I do quite. I'm one of the few people. I feel like I like the new Hockenheim. I think it's a good track that's well designed for modern racing. But that old Hockenheim, other than being a nice high speed track, which we only have sort of one left in Monza, sort of just you flatten the wings out completely and go for broke. It had that. It was so big you could have different weather in different parts, and you just don't have that anymore. I think that's a really interesting feature of a track.
Sorry, I'm listening. I was half listening to commentary and waiting for chat to tell me off for going to see 5, but Billy Piper was there as well, so, you know.
Nothing wrong with 5.
What is it? I've always said this, and it's something me and my friend used to say, there's always time for 5.
It's always time for 5. And N asterisk sync, as I like to call them.
Lewis Bloomfield says, taxi back to Louth must have cost you a bomb. No, we all were in my auntie's whopping great Volvo. You know, the one where people used to put seats in the back? there was, we're going back a bit now. There was me, my sister, I think my brother was there, my mum, my auntie, and her 4 kids. There was 9 of us.
Incredible.
In a Volvo.
All off to see 5.
And Billy Piper and Scooch, to be fair. It was possibly the campest afternoon I've ever had.
Billy Piper was in the Volvo too?
Oh no, 5 went in the Volvo, no. We gave Scooch a lift though.
This is it. So we're of an age where we knew Billy Piper as a pop star.
Yeah, because we want to.
Because we want to. Anyway, there is F1 on track.
Peter says, would you ever consider inviting Nico Rosberg onto one of your streams? I would, but I don't think it would take long for one of us to upset the other one. In fact, it'd probably upset both of us. Yeah. I do often think about sort of streams and podcasts trying to go after old drivers, not in like a creepy, kidnappy way. That sounded wrong. But trying to get some people on that, you know, we're fans, obviously, but having some actual drivers on would be quite cool. But I'm never quite sure how you go about it. I mean, Billy Munger's currently doing some stuff on YouTube, so I might have to just go and... I've met him a few times, be like, oh, you'll not remember me, but...
Yeah.
I know where you live now.
Oh, God. Stop incriminating yourself live on air.
Oh, if he goes missing now, I've had it, haven't I? But yeah, it'd be kind of cool to get ex-drivers on, or, I mean, current drivers would be epic, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I have yet to master the putting feelers out for people. God, there's no good way of phrasing this, is there? But yeah, reaching out to people and seeing if they're interested. Maybe we should pool our resources together and get one person to be a PR or, you know, the reaching out person.
Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not good at approaching people, I'll admit that. But I almost got Lando on before his F1 days, but that kind of fell through late on because he ended up doing I think they're called roundtables.
Yeah.
He ended up doing one of those at Woking instead, and I couldn't get down, so I was like, oh, damn. But his PR dude had originally said yes, and Lando had said yes when I asked him, so yeah. I might try again, because that'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, start in F2, and then see how you go from there. I've just noticed Lando... This is a thing I wouldn't ever normally notice, but Lando's wearing a different helmet to yesterday.
That's his one for this season, I think.
Oh, okay, because yesterday I think he had a like Valentino Rossi coloured sort of helmet. I think I only noticed because I remember the 4 sticking out, and now the 4 blends in completely with the yellow, and I was like, that's weird. There you go, insight live. And I've also just noticed that all the speeds are in kilometers and miles an hour at the same time, and I don't remember seeing that before.
Stroll's gone quicker again, another 10th off his time. 20 laps now, 17.1 C3s. Still quite a way off yesterday. I'll pop the result up again just for me more than anything. So Kubica did a 16.9, and we know that Bottas's fastest was a 15.7. So we're quite a way off that at the moment, but that was from yesterday.
But Vettel at the top.
Oh, Vettel's gone fastest 17 flat. So there we go. 33 laps. Some sort of order has been restored.
Oh, our Ferrari finally going to get a headline time for one session.
They're talking that down again this week, aren't they? They're going on about still looking at mileage rather than performance, and that they're on a different program. And I think right at the start, we're going right back to the start of the live coverage today. I think it was either Alex Jakes or Will Buxton said something along the lines of, it sounds like Ferrari are playing themselves down or playing their chances down. So if they arrive in Australia and are even mildly competitive, they look like heroes. Whereas last year, they looked like heroes and then it was a disaster.
And I think they're right. I remember them talking about that. They framed their season too optimistically, so they just looked like they'd fallen on their ass when they actually got to the races. Whereas if you downplay it, then anything above that looks like they've done an excellent job in the 2 weeks between now and the first race. What's he on now? He's on a soft tire, but I don't know which variety.
He's on a C3, I think, Seb, unless I've missed that.
I think he's on a red. He's on a red tire right now. He's on a soft something.
It'll be I'd have said C4.
Yeah, again, the app doesn't give me anything more than colour, but I guess that's because it's run by people who just look at the tyres as they...
Yeah. Norris on the C2 out there, because that's got the brackets.
You would think it's not that hard to have little sensors in the tyres so that whatever you put on the car, it just sends a little signal out so you know what they're on. There's already sensors in the tyres, so you'd think having a mandatory FIA sensor that just allows you to identify the tyres.
Seb's had a spin.
Well, it was about time. Everyone else had one.
It should be. Is it? Don't drive in, you're going to get beached in there, Seb. I'm telling a 4-time world champion how to get out of a gravel trap.
Which corner is it? Get your track map out.
I think 5. Again, that's going to be red flag. He's pulled loads of gravel on track with him. Oh, Sebastian.
There's only 44 minutes running left.
It was turn 5. You know that corner where nobody ever goes off? That's Bottas, Verstappen and Vettel. That'll be a red flag. Gravel everywhere.
That is interesting. I wonder what that is. It's a downhill part of the track.
I wonder if the curb is just a bit wet and they're just touching it on the outside. Here we go, on board. I'm a bit ahead of you, Stuart, so apologies. Spoiler
I'm still watching him get out of the track. Oh, what a lot of gravel.
Maybe touch it. Oh, that is a weird... It's like the other day when the spin that looked like it took half an hour. It kind of... Yeah... When Seb spins, it's always quite weird. It's always slow motion, and that wasn't a slow motion replay before anyone's cheeky and twat.
He did very much leave an entire line of gravel across the width of the track.
Wow.
I'm about to watch the replay now.
Line. Maybe a touch on the white line, but the car spins so late. It can't be that. That's a really late spin into the corner.
He spun in the middle of the corner, so that suggests when he starts foot down again to accelerate out the corner, and traction wasn't there. The rear wheels just went faster than the track was.
The red flag's not out, but yesterday for all that gravel, I mean, there was more, to be fair, at 7 and 8 when he dragged that on track, but I'm surprised we've not had a red flag for that.
Well, we got Steve with his leaf blower on standby, I'm sure.
There's a lot of gravel. You'll see it. There's a lot of gravel there.
There is a lot of, yeah.
It's not even like they can pick their way through it, because like you said, he has just dragged the line across. Like the whole track.
Yeah. It won't take long to clear that up, but if you do red flag it, you need to get all the cars back. There is a red flag according to the timing screen.
Yep.
That I'm looking at. You need to get all the cars back into the pits and then get the men on track and then get the men off the track. And then you need to start your outlap again. So it does cost you a fair bit of running.
Well, it's just been... It was really quiet to start with this morning. Again, to anybody just tuning in, we had a wet track and it was... nobody wanted to do much. And then it finally got going and we got a red flag. But that's all we've had is stop-start today. And when you consider that we didn't get a red flag until about 15 minutes before the end of day 2, it's just constant red flags at the minute.
But I think, well, we had a wet track in the morning. Cars haven't been running that often. especially in the first couple of hours. We hadn't had any running at all, and there's clearly turn 5 especially very tricky.
It probably is the wet track thing, but I also wonder how many teams have got enough mileage in now that they can tell their drivers to push a little bit harder, and mistakes are now getting made. Whereas, Wednesday, Thursday last week, they need to get the mileage in because they know they're losing 2 days. Because, look at all the laps we had on the first day. That was insane how many laps there were. So maybe, I think 200 and something more than the previous year on day one. So maybe now they've said to them, 2 days to go, we've got the mileage in we need. Let's see what happens if we push a little bit harder. Maybe. But that spin from Seb wasn't pushing hard. That was a bizarre
looked like he was
spin.
pushing hard, did it? He just sort of looks like he put his foot down to get out of the corner in the normal fashion, and the back end just went faster than the front end. And he spun all the way around, so he was sort of reversing the gravel trap in the direction of the track. Maybe in the lunch break we'll get a marshal out there with a chamois leather to dry down turn 5.
Steve's back and he's got a friend. He's brought Dave with him.
Yay!
With a leaf blower and kicking the gravel away. Daniel Thompson makes a good point in chat, actually. He's going to say higher fuel loads plus drivers pushing harder. Could be.
Yeah. Lot of wind out there. The flags are blowing quite heavy.
I'm just pleased that Steve and Dave are out there clearing the gravel with their leaf blowers. Or thinking they're clearing the gravel with the leaf blowers.
Oh dear, they're so This is definitely a broom job, but yeah, good for them. They feel like they're big people.
It's the fact they're using the leaf blower and then still having to kick the gravel away, and that kind of tells you that the leaf blower's not working.
I've never actually. I think they've deployed maximum brooms at the moment. I've never seen so many people dealing with gravel in this testing so far.
Oh, that's a graphic I should have had, isn't it, for the stream? And like a really cheesy maximum brooms just to have going across the middle of the stream.
I'm looking at the Ferrari front nose. There is a little hole in the front of it. I wonder if that's a sensor or what. Pierre Gasly, only driver who hasn't gone sub 120. AlphaTauri are just currently polishing up the chassis. Don't seem that worried about going out.
291 laps in total for Seb now, just for those keeping count. Yeah. Another red flag. It's very windy, just showing some trees now because it's a red flag. So we know how the director likes to go and show us nature when we have red flags in sessions. It's usually groundhogs in Canada, isn't it? They like to focus on, but it's trees in Spain.
Yeah, Spain, famous for its trees.
Palm trees, apparently.
Seb is out of his car and leaning very seductively over it. Very interesting. Yeah, not really sure what's. Ferrari don't seem too worried, do they? Giving it a quick check of the under to make sure there's no gravel stuck in all the important parts. But apart from that, probably should see them out there. I wonder. I don't know if no. I was going to say, did we see Red Bull come out again in the last green flag part of the running? But I don't think they did come out because they've only done 10 laps this morning.
It's such a. They're just showing a replay again. It's such a weird. It is mid corner, so he does touch the white line on entry, but that can't be what spun him because he spins about a week later. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Yeah, I do find it interesting that Seb absolutely floors it in the gravel and keeps going, but Verstappen does the same thing and gets stuck. So is there there must be an element of chance in that?
Yeah, I was watching him leave. He got a little bit of momentum going first. He was quite tentative to kind of get the car started, and then he floored it. Whereas I think Verstappen was actually still sliding backwards a little bit when he put his foot down. So yeah, just bedded himself in.
Oh, yes. Mark in chat, he's trackside, isn't he? So Mark trackside, just going to Mark now, says the wind is also very gusty, not constant. So maybe a little gust of wind through that corner might have just caught him.
That's true.
It's easy done, isn't it?
Thank you, Mark, trackside.
I might just call him Ted.
Seiki says, pitiful morning in terms of driving, amount of laps.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the most? 41 from Bottas. Again, Mercedes just getting on with it, but it's just been so stop-start.
Yeah, I mean, even Bottas has had an off-track incident. My timing screen says red flag is now gone. I don't know about you.
I'll change it. It's fine. I like to agree. Just back to what you said right towards the start of the stream. GP Today just put an article up. Chase Carey has said the Vietnam Grand Prix will take place on April 5th in Hanoi. And to anticipate another question, we do plan to proceed with the race. We are heading to Melbourne, heading to Bahrain, and heading to Hanoi. So there you go. They are all happening as it stands.
And him and his Liberty execs are going to Hanoi straight after Melbourne as well to meet with the race people.
Oh, wow. So, yeah. I mean, that's on the 27th of February. It's, as we keep saying, we say yesterday, it's an evolving situation, is it, this whole coronavirus thing? So come April, they might not be able to race. But at the moment, everything's going ahead as planned. So we just have what I'm going to call, and I shouldn't make fun of it because it's a serious thing and, you know, people are ill and they're losing their lives. But I am just going to call it spring break. Woo! Yeah. I would do a more high-pitched woo, but I don't want to scare people.
Red Bull back out on track. So clearly Max Verstappen's car is... Word again? Also watch Verstappen, Bottas side by side. Typical Mercedes. They're the only car that actually managed to not spin in their turn 5 incident.
K-Mag's only done 17 laps, you know. Verstappen 11, but he's been off and in the gravel. Twitchy through that chicane as well. But yeah, Magnussen's out on track, but he's only done 17 laps. Just check, was there a problem at Haas, or is it just the track conditions, do we reckon?
Yeah, maybe they're not seeing it as worth it. It's tricky to know what their game is, but I guess they're going to know that the afternoon is going to be a much more, hopefully, eventful session. I hope who's with you this afternoon to cover the hopefully normal running.
I've got Geordie Jordan and Mike from F1 Fanatics, 2 new voices on the channel who are probably absolutely bricking it. Bless them. But I'll give them a hard time. It's fine.
I mean, I'd struggle to see them come up with amazing topics like going to see 5 and which shows you used to watch on live TV.
Well, they're younger.
But good luck to them.
They're kids. No, I'm joking. I don't know how old Mike is, but I know Jordan's like 21, 22 or something like that. So, you know, it's basically I'm going to be proper boomer this afternoon, aren't I? It's going to be terrible. I remember when I was a kid. I was going to say, Haas tweeted about 12 minutes ago, after all the damp track and red flag delays, it's time to get some laps in. So that would have been just before the red flag came out again. So I guess acknowledging there that they've not done much running because the track's been rubbish. So there we go.
And everyone out on track except for Ocon and Gio and Gasly.
Yes. This will be. So here we go. Qualifying. I'm going to retweet Dan Tictum's tweet about his helmet because I really, really like that design.
Yeah, I did check it out. It's lovely.
So yes, at F1 Word over on Twitter. I'm going to quote tweet it and be nice to him. I don't often.
It's kind of a dazzle camo, isn't it?
Mm.
So you can't see the secret aerodynamic shape of his helmet.
I'm here. I'm just... Oh, why did I get a Samsung?
Are you struggling to use Twitter?
Oh, it's my age. What can I do? Bloody Twitter, or whatever these kids are calling it. But yeah,
So if you look at the AlphaTauri Twitter, they've just tweeted a picture of Kvyat looking sad because he went out to watch the cars on track only for a red flag to come out. Oh. And he's just standing by the track looking
oh, poor
miserable.
Kvyat.
Right, I'm just waiting to see who's the next car that's going to bid it into turn 5 is going to be.
Seb got a twitch on coming on exit there, so It might be windy down there, you know, maybe. It's like you say, we don't often see people off down there, so it's quite odd that. Yeah, maybe wind. I'm sure there was a little bit of water when Max ran over the curb, though, or a lock-up at least.
Yeah.
But Seb's on a soft tyre. Sorry, Stuart. It says C3, but he's definitely on the C4 there, on the soft.
That Seb spin is still really interesting because he's the only one that the other ones, the Verstappen and Bottas and Gio, I can't remember. It all looked like they touched that white line. They went a little bit too wide and it was a bit damp on the side of the track. But yeah, Vettel just completely different. But Vettel going nice and fast out there. I think he's going to drop that fastest lap time again.
Max is improving. Did you say Max?
I was talking about Vettel. Vettel's going pretty fast. I'm going to stick the segment timer on my app.
I think we're going to get some proper, obviously not actual qualifying pace, but qualifying style stuff in it. We're just going to get a load of quick laps now because they've got half an hour or consecutive laps rather than quick laps. So Max goes over the line. P4, 0.6 off Seb's time, a 1:17.7. I probably ought to have...
F1 Fanatics Mike has responded.
Has he? In chat or on...
On Twitter. He's calling you the star of the show, but him and Jordan are looking forward to joining you this afternoon. So thanks for listening in, F1 Fanatics Mike.
Yeah, Mike. That was a bit aggressive. That was unnecessary. Mike. Whatever. I have to introduce... I mean, if you've not... Obviously... Oh, hang on, Stuart. I might not have put... the F1 word hasn't put a link to Chainbear's channel in the chat, like everybody in chat isn't subscribed to you already.
I am appalled.
I will do it now, even though it's only half an hour left. I apologise, Stuart. That is terrible.
If you haven't been to my channel, go visit it.
Yes.
Maybe
predictions.
Intrigued.
Saturday, Sunday? One day?
I think Saturday is when I'm aiming to get them out. Me and you and Dan from the F1/E Reviews predict what's going to happen the season ahead, and you can get to see that on Saturday. And if you're interested in DAS, I've got a video out on that currently that I put out at the beginning of the week. There you go. Plugged.
And spoiler alert on predictions, we're all geniuses or genii.
Oh, yeah.
Genii?
If you want to see true F1 experts at work, that's the video to watch.
And watch that video because there are links in the description to real experts.
Yeah. And I definitely didn't confuse which team Ocon was in at any point during that video.
How many was it 4 in the end?
Yeah, I have. I've cut out a few of the
mega gaffes, I think we'll call them.
John T asks, I'm doing a premiere. Yeah, I'll do a premiere. I'll do it at a time when everyone can join in and chat away. I'm going to tell you now, I did cut out a big section where I mucked up what Dan had predicted and then replaced it with something else. And then Dan got in touch afterwards and said, you still got it wrong. So I basically just wiped that whole section out.
I obviously won't say the names to ruin the predictions, but it was the bit that got us all in stitches when Dan just went, I don't think I picked him, mate. I don't want to drop you in it, but...
Yeah. And then I checked, and then I was like, oh, no, you didn't. And then replaced him with another wrong name. And then he DM'd me later and said, you still got it. You still got it wrong.
But he didn't call... Oh, that bless him. He didn't even call you out for a second time.
No, I think it's like... I think he'd got... if you actually notice, he listens to the recording, he actually goes very quiet at this point. So I think he's clearly thinking, did I really? Did I really say that name? So yeah. You'll notice a very seamless name replacement in that section.
We're on board with Bottas now, and I'm just watching to see if he's using DAS. But I didn't see Lewis use it much yesterday, and we had quite a few onboards with him. So whether they've done their old, hey, we've shown you we've got it now, we don't need to troll you all with it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes on him now. I'm obviously a little bit behind you on
Is that pulling out or?
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because when he turns the wheel, it kind of blocks the steering wheel axis, so you can't necessarily see it coming in and out. But it doesn't look like he's doing it a lot, does it?
I'm just going to wait. I'm hoping they're going to stay with him, just go back on the straight again, because that's where they were using it most last week. But I suppose in some ways it's not really very useful in testing, is it? It's more for the race. No,
I have to
I
say,
can't see him pulling it out.
I'm really impressed at how quickly people noticed it, because it is only a few centimeters of steering wheel travel. And people spotted it, and they spotted that the wheel angle was changing, which again is not easy to spot.
I can't see any, as Jos Verstappen's at track recording stuff on his phone, probably Max. On board with Max now. He's definitely not using DAS. Or is he? Oh, maybe he has to twist the steering wheel, reverse it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing them use the DAS. I mean, I'm endlessly fascinated with the way that teams can get around whatever rules are in place. My favourite being, I want to say 2011 or 2012, the McLaren F duct system, where the drivers just lifted their hand up to block a channel of air that would normally go all the way back to the rear wing from the front of the car. That was my absolute favourite.
Yeah.
Like,
and then tease it. Oh yeah, this is totally safe. And then you're like, it really isn't.
It's like it's not a movable aerodynamic device. It's my hand. It's not part of the car. Genius. Yeah, and then banned.
Auto, motor, und sport. Pinch of salt, everybody. Red Bull claims to have calculated from the data of the first 3-day test that they are 0.2 seconds behind Mercedes. They hope to close the gap with the upgrades. Rumours say it's worth 0.3. So with upgrades, in theory, Red Bull should be a tenth quicker than Mercedes. We have started. I assume that's Helmut Marko off on one again. But yeah, we are off with the mind games.
I would love to know how they possibly could have calculated that.
Well, they talk about like GPS, don't they, and being able to work it out that way. But even then, you don't know 100% what modes Mercedes are running.
There's so many different variables you need to kind of normalize, I guess, that I don't know how they know that. But they are very, very clever, and maybe they have their own ways of and degrees of confidence in what they're saying. But wow, okay. I guess we'll see come Australia.
Yes. But I mean, if they're within 0.2 of Mercedes, Red Bull could be quite nicely placed for some surprises on certainly on certain tracks. But I always think that Max Verstappen's worth that kind of time.
Yeah, true.
But then
and actually, I think it's time for Red Bull to be the main challenger again.
Yeah.
We've seen them in third place for too long, and they are a better team than that.
And Ferrari have had their chance, and they've not done it, so it's time for...
It's only fair.
Time for Red Bull.
I would really, really like to see Mercedes beaten... beaten from their current position, as opposed to what we sometimes see is that, you know, there's a bit of a shift in regulation or something, and then suddenly the leading team is third and nowhere to be seen. I'd like to see Mercedes be dominant and then taken down from that position.
Yeah, become the challengers.
Yeah,
would be quite cool. But then, I mean, if we're looking 2021, if I'm picking things I'd like a 10-way championship fight between teams, but Williams the fastest. Reverse championship order as we are now. Not going to happen.
All right, well, good luck wanting that.
Yeah, I'll just go and do a mixed up grid on the game or something to beat that craving. I'll do a quick run through the order again. Coming up to 20 minutes to go. But again, these times are not really anything compared to what we've been seeing. Well, we're into the low 17s, so we're getting there. But Sebastian Vettel still fastest, 17 flats. 40 laps. Yes, that's right. I couldn't read then. 17.1 for Stroll, 25 laps. 17.5 for Norris, 37 laps. 17.7 for Max on 18. Latifi, 17.7 on 38. Bottas, 47 laps. 17.9. Ocon, 18.0, 28 laps. Magnussen, 18.2 on 24 laps. Giovinazzi, 19.6 on 16 laps. And Gasly, 22.5 on 28 laps. And then we've got Hamilton in for Bottas this afternoon. Albon will be in for, and it's a Gasly then, but it's Verstappen, isn't it? Yeah, and Ricciardo in for Ocon. So there we go. Lance Stroll out there on the C3s at the minute. Got 4,
Just
5,
on
6
another note
cars.
on Williams. Again, it's testing and it's a weird day, but as usual, Williams are just in among it. They're not the clear other team. They're just getting on with things and looking like a proper midfield team, even if they do end up being the 10th place team overall.
Just checking something on PayPal.
Yeah. While you're doing that, Gasly back out on track. I would like to see him putting in a lap time that looks like everyone else's lap time. He's currently 22.5, as you just said. Everyone else in the 17s and 18s, which is kind of normal. I know there's a 1:15 out there. That's the best lap of testing so far. But 17, 18, that's fairly standard running for non-aggressive laps.
Oh, Jack, I'm devastated, mate. Your $3,000 joke payment has now gone under cancelled. You tight-fisted sod. I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping PayPal might make a mistake in that Jack got to keep the $3,000, but they also sent me it by mistake, and we could just keep quiet and not doing anything. But no, I ain't that lucky.
Oh, I just saw Lance Stroll run 2 wheels across the gravel.
He's pushing, isn't he, out there? To be fair,
Yeah, he wants to get that position back from Vettel. It's within reach.
Yeah, it was only a few hundredths, isn't it? Really? So, yeah.
Well, we'll see. The commentary team getting very excited about Lance Stroll trying to get that position back. I've just noticed, I haven't watched any of the afternoon sessions, but all of the sessions I've been involved with, absolutely no adverts at all.
No. I was surprised by that. I thought Sky would have thrown them in, but I wonder if because they're using the F1 TV live world feed, because that's advert free, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that might be why. But I'm surprised they've not sent it to adverts on Sky. Just what I think, watching a replay of Lance Stroll getting it wrong. Somewhere are we? Maybe.
If
Yes.
it's replaying what I saw live, it's is it him running wide and chucking up some dust?
Yeah, through one of those fast corners towards the end, or faster corners. But Gazzy's out on track, so that's good. Latifi, Ocon and Gasly at the moment with 18 minutes to go.
Latifi snuck his Williams up to third at the moment.
He has. Championship confirmed again. I'd love to. I'm so eager for Williams to do well this year. But I mean, what's well? 2 points. It's double what they got last year, isn't it? So just not being 2 seconds off the pace every weekend is probably a good season for them.
I think I'd like to see Williams regularly challenging to get into Q2. Obviously, not going to happen every time, but getting a car or two in Q2 every so often, or at least having the expectation that they can fight for it, would be good. And picking up the tail end of points semi regularly, I think would be pretty good. I think the back end of the midfield know they need to rely on things happening to get them into the right position to pick up points. But I think that's where I hope Williams are right now.
Latifi's apparently done 300 and I think I said 301 laps.
Which
so
is
far in
similar to
testing.
Vettel.
But I'm just going back here to check something. So that means, in theory, if that's correct, Russell's only done 128. Can that be right? That doesn't seem. I go back to that page that I had open that I went and closed
Yeah.
for some bizarre reason. But that is weird. I think, I mean, Russell's kind of, I suppose George Russell has often been in the car in the afternoon, or at least once anyway, I say often, after Latifi's blown his car up. So he's kind of had to wait for the power unit to be replaced, hasn't he? So that might be why.
That is a solid amount of laps. I keep banging on about it. It's going to get boring, but honestly, like, I'm so chuffed for Williams' start to the season. Even if it takes them, a large number of races to get back in the points again, they are very much seemingly back on form. And by back on form, I mean not a GP2 car.
They were kind of... how can you word it? They kind of had their own little championship last year, didn't they? Because they were so far off. You could almost argue that you've got Formula 1, Formula 1.5 and Formula 2. So were they like Formula 1.75?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I think we've been quite fortunate. We've been spoiled a little bit because we've had a very, very solid midfield for a few years now. That sort of 4th to 9th or whatever has been, fighting very much amongst each other for most of the races. And you kind of have to go back to those sort of the Manor, Caterham, HRT era when you did have this like third class of team that was solidly in a different place, which is what Williams had kind of slotted themselves into last year, like you say, or like Minardi back in the day when they were like, and here is our last place team. Yeah, so like I say, I'd love to see them just back in that kind of the general midfield pack. As I think Vettel drops into the
16.8 on the C5. I was just into commentary there as well. Winding Ted up because he wanted a 16, and then when he got one, he wasn't happy because he wanted a low 16.
Yeah.
But you'd have thought on the C5, Seb would have done, but I suppose still putting rubber down, aren't they, from the slippery track this morning? So, but yeah, I wonder if he'll go again. Go on, Seb, do another one. Do a 14.9 and really mess with Mercedes. Take loads of stuff off and make the car ridiculously underweight just to make a point.
Very confusing graphics on the screen right now because it says Vettel's on his outlap when he very clearly isn't because he just set a fast time. Well, that's laid down a marker. Do you think Ferrari are looking to set some headline times just so they're not completely written off?
Seb straight back in the pits after that one. But I think... Well, they were talking about it this week. There was talk about a B-spec car which never turned up. They got a new rear wing, allegedly some changes to suspension. The B-spec car never really turned up. But Binotto was saying last week about... I think I've said this a lot, actually. I'll repeat it again. That this week was about performance and last week was about getting the laps in. But then yesterday he was talking about how it wasn't about performance this week now. So if I'm being totally honest, I don't really think Ferrari know whether they want to go for headline times or not. I suppose the concern is, going back to what we were saying earlier about last year, if they go out and stick in the fastest time of testing tomorrow afternoon, people are suddenly going to start talking them up, and then we get to Australia, and if they're not where everyone thinks they are, then they're going to get criticised again. So is it better to sort of make sure they are a 2 or 3, 4 tenths off that lap time just to manage expectations? Because they've got such a passionate fan base, and they'll get... Ferrari fans are always saying to me in comment sections, it is so hard being a Ferrari fan. I can't imagine. It must be just impossible some seasons. So maybe just manage expectations a bit. I think the team in the past maybe wouldn't consider that, but I think under Binotto, with their new approach to the fans and social media, maybe might take that into consideration to a point. I'm probably clutching at straws a bit there.
I think... Now, I'm just going to give you some information here, which you can take with a pinch of salt because it has been such a weird, interrupted morning session. But Vettel's longest run was only 7 laps. And his last runs were 3 laps on the soft, 3 laps on the soft, 3 laps on the soft, 4 laps on the soft, 4 laps on the medium. And then he did 7 laps on the medium, And then before then, it was just the intermediate sort of running and a couple of on the hard. So, it looks like he's doing single lap runs. But there's been so many red flags and so much like getting used to the track, it's hard to read too much from that. And a lot of people have been doing short runs, apart from Bottas, who did a 12-lap run on the medium at one point.
So we might see quite a bit of long running this afternoon, so it might not be quite as interesting as I was hoping for. Long runs are interesting, aren't they? But you don't get the headline times.
Maybe towards the end of the I see there's 10 minutes to go and we're already like showing end of session graphic type things.
Yeah, we've got the calendar up again for the 975th time in the last 2 weeks. So if you didn't know, we
graphics
started
are ugly, aren't they? I don't know why they're using red behind white.
Oh, that's my channel stuff.
But just it doesn't fit in at all with anything else.
They stole it from me. That's all it is.
Yeah.
No, I mean we start in Australia 2 weeks time.
Yes.
Then it's off to Bahrain for a week. Then it's 2 weeks till Vietnam. Then it's spring break. Woohoo! All the way to the Netherlands. Then it's
That's
Spain.
a month. We got a month off.
I know. We're going to have to, without making too many plans on stream and overcommitting, which I'm very guilty of, I know. But we ought to get together and do something, all of us, for, and by all of us I mean you, me, Jonty, and Dan, or something for spring break.
We'll figure something out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to see if I can do the calendar off the top of my head without looking. So it'll be Australia, Bahrain. I like to challenge myself. Vietnam, the Netherlands, Spain, Monaco, Baku, Canada, France, Austria, Britain, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia, Japan. I'm going to get these two the wrong way around. Mexico, US, Brazil, Abu Dhabi.
I mean, I didn't have it in front of me, so yes, you're absolutely correct.
Oh, get
very
a life. Good. It's the sort of thing I kind of need to know, really, isn't it, boys?
How is Latifi P3? He's just been out there putting in the lap times, and it's a weird session.
US is before Mexico. Sorry, that's the only thing I got wrong on that.
Okay. Yeah, but they change a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, now you're getting lots of ideas of what you should be doing in that break.
Jonty says full 2019 Marble League watch along.
Yeah, we'll make some plans. We'll figure them out.
We will. Vettel's out there, not doing a fastest lap, but he's
very close.
Yeah. He's on the C5s again. I wonder if that'll be the same. He probably went in and did a practice start and out he goes again. It's probably the same tyres, so lost some performance. I didn't miss Suzuka. I definitely said Japan. Said it after Russia. I was looking at Japan yesterday, so yeah.
How long do you think we'll keep going to Russia? Oh, doorbell again.
Oh,
right,
okay.
be right back. Good luck.
No worries. I don't know what's going on at the minute. We've got some laps coming in, but who's on track? I'll tell you who's on track. Vettel, Stroll, Norris, Verstappen, Ocon and Magnussen. I'm interested by what Max is doing on the C2 now, so this could be... See where he ends up. Vettel's been out on the C5 with his fastest lap, which was a 16.8. Still a long way off where we were last week, of course. 15... keep getting it wrong. 15.7, I think it was, for Bottas. So, yes. I just want to watch Max on board, because, I mean, I can't work out if he's really... He doesn't seem to be pushing all that hard, but he's on the C2. I'm just intrigued as to where this might put him with regards to the C3 and C4 and 5 runners. Might give us a good gauge on his pace. I just watch it. Max on the C2 lap. I'm just intrigued where this is going to put him compared to the C3 and C4 runners, because that's often quite a good gauge, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of whether the lap times ahead of him are representative, and also what speed he's got. But he doesn't look to be pushing all that hard. In fact, no,
Verstappen's been on the hard tyres all morning. He hasn't gone on a different colour compound at all.
Yeah, that wasn't a special lap or anything. He really wasn't pushing on that at all. Ocon going out again.
Norris also going out, isn't he?
Yes. I'm hoping they're going to put some C5s on Lance, let him have a one big run.
What do you think's going on with AlphaTauri? Because they've done a decent amount of laps, and they've done a decent amount of laps in the dry, but they're still absolutely nowhere near anyone else's pace. So clearly doing something very different.
Well, to be fair, based on their tweet of Kvyat out there, maybe he's waiting for a lift and Gasly's looking for him. Which is why his lap times are so terrible. What's he done? So 22.5, 35 laps. So he's got some, considering the morning they've had some good laps on. But absolutely nothing on them on Twitter.
No. His last few stints have only been sort of in and out. So he hasn't actually bothered to set a time. But then he did an 8-lap and a 9-lap run on the hards, but maybe that's when it was still a little bit damp. That AlphaTauri was in the pits for a long time, an hour ago.
So a quick flick through the GP Today feed, see if there's anything on there, but
just having a weird one, I guess.
They have had quite an odd pre-season, but they have still done some good laps. So it's like the other day when they said, when we're fixing something on the car, it's not serious, but it's complicated.
Yeah.
Benjamin in chat says Sean should do a podcast with Chamber and Aldas. Are you still doing those podcasts? Watch this space on what's coming up this season. But yes, podcast style is probably the way I call it. But yeah, again, Stuart knows, so I can just be coy.
I know some stuff. I know a few things.
We talk. My people call his people,
I know we're over a year into this, but I really do prefer these simplified front wings. I think they're just much more elegant and attractive. And particularly like the smaller ones that have come off the back of that Alfa Romeo wing. I just think they look nice. That's all I got to say.
The McLaren front wing is nice. But yeah, I agree. When you look back, they were just too complicated, and it wasn't good for the racing. I'm not saying that these have been a massive improvement. But yeah, I agree. When you first saw them on the cars last year, you were kind of like, oh, God, weren't you? Because they were just so much bigger and so simple. But yeah, Norris getting out of the car with 4 minutes to go, so I assume that's his session over.
I want to see if Stroll decides to go out there again and try and, he's not going to get into the 16s, is he? But I'd like to see him try.
There's only a couple of tenths off if he puts some C2s on. C2s? He won't do it C2s, C5s.
Ocon's out there. I feel like I haven't seen him for about 3 hours.
But is that not the story of Renault this winter? You keep I keep looking at the time screens going, oh, Ricciardo's done this, and not really seen much of them. Are they this year's Saints?
Yeah, probably. Or maybe it's that livery that just blends into the track.
Maybe, yeah, but I kind of hope they stick with it. I know black is a bit uninspired, you could argue, but it does also look very, very slick. Again, I also don't like that yellow livery on with that nose they've got. Doesn't flatter.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, Sean Bull is their designer. So I kind of imagine he'd want to do something a little bit more interesting than just black, even though it does look kind of cool.
Seb's got some fresh C3s on. No sign of Lance. I don't think we're going to see him, which is annoying.
That's it. I think with just 3 minutes to go and Seb on track, he is going to take the maximum number of laps this session because Bottas seems to be in the garage for the rest of the morning.
I think Stroll's out this afternoon again, actually. So probably not a big... He's gone for an early lunch, maybe.
But yeah, Vettel had a bit of an off, but actually has had a really good morning. Looks like he's going to be top of the timesheets, top of the lap distance.
Sky accounting going through the classification now, so I assume they're finishing with 2 minutes to go. So we'll keep an eye on the timing screens for Seb's lap.
Yeah, he had a very squiffy entry into the pit straight as he started this lap, so it's probably not going to be anything that special.
Verstappen's still out there on the C2s. Ocon's out there on... Is that the C4 or 5 he's got on his car, Esteban? C4.
Yeah, seeing as they're on slightly harder tyres now, I imagine they're just prepping themselves for maybe long runs in this afternoon.
Hmm.
Just getting a little feel for these tyres and what to expect. But as you said, most of these drivers are going to be carrying on into the afternoon, aren't they? So any information they get right now, they can.
Yeah, we've only got Hamilton, Ricciardo, and Albon coming in this afternoon. If you weren't with us yesterday, in comparison, all but one team swapped yesterday. So 19 drivers all taking part. No Raikkonen. No Giovinazzi yesterday. Was the Giovinazzi and Magnussen the only two we didn't see because Kubica was in the Alpha.
Yeah.
No, nothing
Yeah,
much from
interesting to
Vettel.
see what AlphaTauri do with their afternoon because they did not do very much with their morning.
No. Which, again, we've not seen any news on why that is, have we? So maybe just another. Like I said, they've been a bit weird with some of their lappage this
Yeah.
year so far. Their lappage.
Yeah.
Rico wants to know before we go, who's your favourite active Canadian F1 driver? Is it Stroll or 65535 Dash? Stroll, surely, for me.
65535 seems like the number you have to text to show your support for Stroll.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. If you've got a question, please text. Start your message with F1 word or one word and leave a space at 65535. That's going back a bit now, isn't it? They don't do that anymore. But yeah, remember all that fuss over texting. God, there used to be a really random now boomer alert. I don't know if you remember, Stuart. Before we go, there used to be a TV show after texting became popular, where they were live and they'd go through text messages and all the stuff in them. And I can't remember what it's called now.
I don't, but it sounds like one of those things where producers are like, "This is what kids find cool. Let's do that."
Yeah, it was one of those, and it was. I think Gabby Rosland hosted it. Going back even. Oh God,
Amazing.
Right, that's it. I'm ending this.
Okay, right.
Super quickly, just to let you know. Oh, great. People that have got my number now are messaging me F1 word 65535 dash. Thank you. Vettel 116.8 49 laps. Stroll 117 130 laps. Latifi 117 343. Norris 17.5, also 43 laps. Verstappen 117 730 laps. 117.9. Go away phone. 47 laps. Ocon 18.0 37 laps. 118.2 for Magnussen 31. Giovinazzi 119.6 16 laps. And a 122.5 for Gasly on 35 laps. That's it then, Stuart, for the morning. Another morning. One more to go for you tomorrow. So thank you for your company. And I look forward to another morning of waffling tomorrow, hopefully with no rain.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more running tomorrow morning. And yeah, last day of testing for everybody, so they'll probably want to. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'll see you tomorrow morning, and good luck this afternoon. I hope you get some action.
I'm sure we will. But thank you again, and I'm sure I'll talk to you. Well, I'll talk to you in the morning. There you go. I've just answered that.
Yay. All right. Cheers. See you later.
Bye. Lovely. Thank you to Stuart. Yes, I will talk to him tomorrow. He's back in. I've got Jordan and Mike with me this afternoon for their first ever stints on the F1 word, so be nice. Make them feel welcome. But I'm going to go get some lunch, as I'm sure some of you will too, and I will catch you in about an hour and a half.